Right, welcome to the Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight, episode something, forgot the number. Always, it's too high now to remember. But yeah, first episode of 2024. Happy New Year, everyone. Uh, we got TMR today on the show. Thanks for stopping by.
Hello and Happy New Year. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to talk about some speed running. It's a good topic to discuss on a speedrun podcast, I think. We're,
Pretty relevant, I will say.
yeah, I think so. It works out well. But yeah, I'll start with the obvious first question of how you got started.
Speedrunning.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah. Well, how I got started, I was watching a video that was Super Mario Bros. 3 in less than 10 or something like that. That was like the video. I
Hmm.
didn't know it was a tool-assisted speedrun at the time. But that was the video, and I remember watching it with my brother, and we were like so excited. It's like, oh man, this guy plays perfectly. He must be like Japanese or something. So we were watching that, and some of the suggested videos, or the description of that video lead me to Tool Assisted Speedrun. I was like, what is this? Then I was like, man, does that mean that I can search the game that I love in my childhood, which was Battletoads? So I started looking at that, and I saw a tool assisted for Battletoads, and I was like, what? What is this? So it was pretty cool. Of course, those were videos on YouTube. That was back in 2012, mid 2012. And then one of the recommended videos was a streamer called Cosmo at the time. He was playing Link's one of the games of Zelda something. It wasn't Ocarina of Time. It was the other one, the one that looks like a Wii version. Uh, I don't remember what's the name of that Zelda right now, but it was pretty cool. And I remember that he had like, oh, you wanna watch live? Go to Speedruns Live. I was like, what? So I was just clicking like every single person, right? Will do, right? Do not click the link. Do not click. Bah. So I was clicking, and it actually brought me to that website, Speedruns Live, that was really awesome because at the moment I didn't know like people were playing live, um, but very quickly I realized that was live, and I was like, wow, these guys are playing like retro games that I love and live. And I remember it was a mind blow to me. Like when the first time you watch a video on YouTube or something like that, or for some younger people, the first time you got your computer or your first console and you saw like how it was working, or the transition from 8 bits to 16 bits, like that kind of mind blow it was for me when I saw a live stream. So I was like, wow. So I started watching basically, and that website had like some races that you could race other people. So I started joining those races, and it was a requirement to stream live. Well, it wasn't a requirement back then, but it was better to stream it. So you know that it was legit and everything. So I quickly like find out a really good and friendly community, which is the speedrunning community, and they accepted me very well, and I started to understand how it works and just having fun, basically.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people found out about it through that same Mario 3 test. I
Yeah,
forget the name, but yeah,
it's
very
the
famous.
algorithm. It's
Yeah.
the algorithm. Same way people is finding out about Tetris right now. That's the hot topic now.
Oh yeah, it's
Well,
true.
well,
People.
for me it was that.
Yeah. No. A lot of people have said that same thing, so it's very interesting. It's amazing how popular that went around because I mean I don't know how the algorithm worked back then. That's a very old video by today's standards, so like I thought it was
Really?
uploaded in like mid 2000s. So the fact that it was still being shown around in
Yeah,
like
yeah.
early 2010s, it really hit the algorithm in some magical way.
Well, I don't think it's magical. It's just basically retention. And honestly, like tool assisted speedruns is pretty. They're pretty cool to watch,
Oh yeah.
especially games that you used to play. So like for me, like we didn't know if it was a tool at the time. So I'm sure like most people watching that think like, oh, it's like a really awesome guy playing or something like that. Because they don't realize sometimes like, that's impossible to do, right, for a human, but they're entertaining to watch, not
Hmm.
gonna lie.
Oh yeah, that
So I
one
guess
was
I, I
very entertaining.
I guess that is how YouTube works. Like if they're entertaining, welcome in.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like early 2010s is when like Speedruns Live was in its heyday, like really popping off. Plenty of people to find through there, races to do.
I have no idea because I kind of joined in 2013,
Yeah.
very early 2013. But yeah, from what I heard, like I don't know exactly when was the transition. I think it was in 2012 when they switched from Justin TV to Twitch,
Hmm.
and yeah, it was pretty cool, a very big step. And the people on Speedruns Live, they were actively working on trying to make the website pretty cool. They had a team and everything, and yeah, they were very friendly. That is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a cool website. It's a shame it's not as popular as it used to be, but I've definitely used it a little bit. Uh, and I mean, other than like the outdated clients, by today's standards, I mean, it's a really cool website with how it all works.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's just the speedrun community has grown up like a lot, so
Hmm.
it's really hard like to find. Even Twitch teams don't seem to work that much anymore or mean that much. Like people don't really care that much. Like oh, he belongs to this team or something like that.
Hmm.
Like just by watching the Twitch page, right, or your Twitch stream, it's like oh, I remember back in the day. Well, I still really like the team I belong, which is the best of NES.
Hmm.
I I, I love NES, but yeah, it's just those things that kind of are not relevant anymore. Maybe at the time they were pretty cool, but just they're not that meaningful
Yeah,
by today's standards.
I haven't thought about Twitch teams at all, but I've known it's a feature. I'm probably in a couple of them, but I just don't think about it. It's interesting that they were actually pretty relevant back in the day.
Maybe they weren't relevant, but Twitch didn't change. It did change often, but they were still trying stuff all the time.
Hmm.
I mean, even today they're still trying stuff. But I think it was pretty cool. Like people was like, "Oh man, you belong to that team! Oh my god!" It was just I felt like it was shorter, smaller. Like since the moment, well, they it has changed. It has changed
Oh
over
yeah,
time, for sure.
it's
For
changed a
better, for
lot.
worse, who knows? But it has changed. It has become bigger. That it's you can still find a very specific community, but when it comes to speedrunning, I think it's not as tight the community as it used to be. It's bigger for sure, but it's
Yeah,
not as tight as it used to. I will
it,
say.
yeah, it's very broad now. So many. I mean, I think it's always been one of the more popular things to watch on Twitch, especially back then, where there wasn't a lot of different categories and stuff. But even now, like
Yeah,
it does really well, and that means so many more people are doing it if it's keeping up with being one of the more popular things to watch. So yeah, it's
yeah.
just like
I
exponentially growing.
guess. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, yeah, I don't. I know from like 2017 to now it's grown a lot, but I can't even imagine like early 2010s how much smaller it would have been.
Yeah, cozy. Clear example is the early GDQs, right? And that was like
Hmm.
2010, I think, when they started.
Yeah, yeah, the early
They were
ones are definitely very small, but
in Mike Sujama's basement, and that was it.
yeah, humble beginnings.
Yep. Never forget your roots.
Of course. And now GDQ's coming up in 2024 in 1 week. So
Yep.
14
Yeah, yeah.
years of GDQ. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. How much it has grown is pretty cool, honestly.
Always fun to watch and visit. So glad they've stuck around and have only grown since their start there. But
Yep,
yeah,
yep. At least once, at least once people need to see like everything that is going on,
mhm.
even behind the scenes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, so much work goes into that. So it's very impressive. But anyway, when you started your stream to like do the SRL, like what games were you starting off with?
For the races, I was doing. I kind of joined like the very first thing was a community of Super Mario World because that game it used to be race a lot.
Mhm.
So I remember I joined a race and the people were very welcoming. Like they asked me about my Skype, so it was just like having a Skype call with some people from United States. We were just talking about you know nothing, just like a group of friends. I didn't know them at the time, but little by little, I started like getting to know them. So I joined those ones because I always wanted to race Baltus. Nobody wanted to race Baltus, and didn't know why. Like, well, I mean, it's a hard game, but nobody really wanted to race that game. There were some people. Oh, I can race, Snake Rattle and Roll. I was like, yeah, why not? But he was a speedrunner of that game, so I was just playing the game basically blind. So it was not by any means a fair race or close race, but I mean it was just the purpose to have fun. So for me it was pretty fun, like just the stream. Um, so yeah, very quickly, like there used to be a weekly race of Mega Man, the Robots Masters on Mega Man on the NES, from one Mega Man 1 to Mega Man 6, the 46 Robot Masters. It was a pretty cool event, very, very, very popular. Well, I mean, NES lovers remember that. Very fun because a lot of people were joining. It was just a lot of fun to play that. There was like, I don't know, about 20 people always racing that on the weekends. So it was pretty nice. So yeah, I started playing Super Mario World. Then whatever game people wanted to race, and part of it is why I started speedrunning Contra because whenever I wanted to race or something, people never wanted to race in my game. Um, yeah, I mean the game that I like as a kid. So so yeah, I was just joining other games basically.
Mhm. Well, Contra took off. I know that at least.
Yeah, I mean it's just like we were racing kind of a lot of times that it was pretty. I started to become better and better. I mean, it's just that's how it works, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not a guy who likes practicing like a very specific section in particular. So races for me was a lot of fun because you get to play the whole game, and it was pretty nice. I just eventually try after try, I was noticing more things, and yeah, that was the way I was
Mhm.
learning to speedrun.
Mm. It's a great way to
Not the
build
most effective.
consistency. So.
Yeah, definitely, and backups and everything. It just I was not that methodic. Like, oh, I need to practice level one, level two, level three, level three, four, five. It was not like I was just like trying to learn on the fly.
Mhm.
Very, very not prepared guy, just like that.
When you start off, you don't know how to be efficient at it. So whatever gets you through it.
Yeah, the thing is, I knew how to be efficient because I'm a musician usually,
Mm.
so I know that if you wanna get better faster at something, you just need to practice by sections.
Mhm.
Just it didn't feel right to me when it comes to games.
That's fair.
It's,
Uh,
I had more fun like just playing the whole game, and even people, I guess at the time the viewers also had a lot of fun with
mhm.
that.
Although back then it would have been a lot harder to practice compared to now. Like you would have to use save states on an emulator, I assume, right?
I pretty much started on emulator, so for me it was like
Okay.
was right there.
All
It
right.
was
Well,
right there.
perfect.
Yeah,
So, but hey, it worked out. So no matter how
yeah.
you
I
get there.
for me it was just like that. That the very first GDQ that I been, uh, I remember complaining so much because I play on a CRT TV, and I was like, "It's not jumping. The guy is not jumping." I was playing Contra. It's not jumping. I couldn't understand why it was not jumping. Right? Like I was jumping the same way I used to jump on the emulator. My guy was not jumping. I was like,
Hmm.
"Why is not jumping?" And they tell me, "Oh no, it's jumping." I'm like, "Yes, but like it's just weird." And he was like, "Hold on, hold on." One of the people, I think it was Mr. K or Salard, uh, and they told me like, "Oh, where are you playing usually?" I was like, "On a flat screen." Oh, that must be why that screen has lag. I'm like, "What?" That's how I find out that there was lag on flat screens back in
Hmm.
the day when there was no like OSSC and other devices. And for me, very it was very stressful at the time because I had to play the game for the audience and at the event, and I just figured out that I have to jump like a little later from what I was used to, right?
Hmm.
So that as a speedrunner, if you have to do that, it's just every single jump and everything, like all your muscle memory is gone basically.
Hmm.
At least you know the game, but it was a big change.
Yeah.
But it was, and I was not the only one. Also, Mitch the Flower Power got the same thing.
Hmm.
When I met him, it's just like he had the same problem exactly, and he didn't know about the lag at all. Like that's how it was fun. It was a lot of fun
Hmm. Yeah, I used to
having.
play an emulator and my computer was really bad, so I had a bunch of lag. So
Oh,
my first GDQ
yeah,
is actually how I was like, I, it was weird for me actually when I went to my first GDQ and played on console for like the first time. I was suddenly a lot better at the game because I was like,
yeah,
oh, this is what pressing an input and having it immediately work feels like. I know how to play the game now.
yeah. I remember I got a Contra world record, but the community of Contra are very strict that they were not allowing emulators. Well, I
Hmm.
mean, they didn't say they didn't allow emulators, but they never had the case that someone beat the world record with emulator, right?
Hmm.
And that was the first case, I guess. And the world record holder at the time didn't wanted to accept my run, and there was like a little drama situation over there. I was like, what? Like I speedrun other games. Like, why will I cheat, right?
Hmm.
like, but he implied like, oh, who knows if he was not running a macros in the background or something, and it was funny. It was funny because I know that I didn't cheat, so I was just fine.
Hmm.
But I remember one of the people I was friends. I'm still friends with. JC sent me the actual contra card, and I think that was the point when I switched to console because I was still playing on emulator. It was very convenient for me because I could have the game screen and the chat right there next to it, right?
Hmm.
So whenever I switched to the CRT, I had the CRT and the chat on the other side. Like for me, it was like not right there. So it was a little different, but I think that on the first day I improved the time. So same thing that happened to you. I play a little better on console than on emulator. That's what happened immediately because I
Hmm.
could see everything better, not chopping and stuff like that. So it was better,
Hmm.
and immediately I got a better time. So they couldn't say anything then.
It all works out in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Emulators are a bit. I mean, they can be weird. They're a lot better now, but especially back
yeah.
then, it's I'm sure NES specifically has always been pretty like 1-to-1, but I mean, I know even to this day some emulators just it's like almost impossible to be a perfect 1-to-1 recreation. So I understand the bit of hesitation, but it, it it's good that it all works out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's amazing how like no input lag improves the skill. Like once you're used to it, at least it's like, oh, suddenly everything's easier because you don't have to deal
Yeah,
with this delay.
yeah. I mean, I didn't notice like a big delay or anything, but the problem was that sometimes the computer is, like
Hmm.
a little full and start working slower, so it doesn't quite work the best way. And when you play in the console, at least the NES, like doesn't even have lag or anything. It always runs like at 60 frames about.
Hmm.
So it was pretty cool. I think it's definitely way better. You know, back then it was more convenient for me like to stream like that. I didn't have like a capture card or something like that. But yeah, later on, after the GDQ event and everything, I started to find out that it's possible to do all that stuff. Maybe the info now is more accessible. The options are a lot better. Like it has evolved a lot for the good. So it's more user friendly. A lot of stuff. Basically, plug and play now. Well, I mean, you can do some tweaking for advanced users, but it's way easier now. I think.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I remember back when I played an emulator because Nestopia is what I always use specifically. And
Yeah,
there would
me
always
too.
be like some audio desync that would happen occasionally, or there's always some problem in console that just you never have that. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and someone told me once you switch to console, you will never switch back,
Mm-hmm.
and they were very right.
Of
I mean,
course.
I have switched back just for setting up purposes in different projects that I had, uh, just because I don't have like a perfect setup and cable management. Basically, when I have to play one console, I have to connect it and
Mm-hmm.
make sure every cable is there. So for me, especially if you're streaming live, it takes time. Sometimes people kind of get bored, or because you have to go off camera, like to the in my case to the other side of the computer. So people are sometimes not sure what's going on, and yeah, I think for that reason, sometimes for me it's still easier to just use an ammo.
Yeah.
But whenever I speedrun or something, I do it in the original console.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely hear a lot of people that have made the switch just never look back. At least 99% of the time. It just
Yeah, yeah,
feels a lot better, at least in my opinion. So
yeah, yeah. It feels real.
it is real. There you go.
Yeah, no, no, no. It feels right. I mean, you see the NES and everything. You hold the original controller. They're pretty cool adapters. Not gonna lie, but still, like playing on the original hardware is the way to go for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think it just feels right. I mean, there's no problem with emulator, but it's just not for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so was Contra your first world record then?
No, it was Baltus Warpless.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was. I think it was around February 2013.
Mm, it's a while
Yep.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
You weren't speedrunning very long.
No, no, no.
Wow.
No, and the reason why I got it is because I switched the category because I didn't wanted to. I wanted any percent, which was way harder.
Mm-hmm.
But that workplace was kind of free to take. Well, not free to take. It was. I knew the game very well, so that wasn't a hard world record for me to beat at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's impressive to for the first one to be Battletoads of all things. I mean, that's not an easy game, just in general.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just because I joined, the speedrun community for fun, and I wanted to play the game that I used to play in my childhood. That was a game that I was always proud that I beat when I was a kid, like 9, 8 years old. And that game has a very special place in my heart. And as a kid, I wanted to beat it even warpless. So I learned everything about that game when I was a kid. So that's why like I knew the game so well, many things. See, for example, there were many things that I used to do that are better than the speedrun at the time. So that is why like it was not that hard for me to beat.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. It's cool that you remember that knowledge from back then to help when you pick it
Well,
up
I mean,
years later.
if you beat if you beat Battletoads, you will know that. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't expect I will be trying to speedrun video games. I mean, didn't know that back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't quite exist. So yeah, it was a pretty nice finding, at least on YouTube, that later become my profession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy how a YouTube algorithm can decide what you do in life. Just kind of
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. Well, I mean, the decision is yours, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it was the YouTube algorithm, but yeah, definitely get inspired and get to know other stuff that you didn't know it existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't randomly get recommended a speedrunning video and I was like, oh, what's this? Like, who knows?
you will be doing something else, man.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know what it would be, but I
That
guess
is
it'd
the
be
deep
something
truth, man.
else.
You will have to do something probably, right? Or maybe you will
Something.
be doing absolutely nothing. Who knows, man? No, but just life, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody takes their decisions. So
Yeah.
I will attribute that to the person and not to you too. But yeah, man.
Yeah, so the Battletoads Warpless World Record. Um how
Also,
much what?
yeah, no, because I also got my first two donations that day.
Uh
I remember that it was one $20 donation and one $5 donation.
nice.
Yep. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like it was a very different experience, right?
Mhm.
Because it just felt pretty cool back when there were no alerts from
Yeah,
Twitch.
that's funny. Um, I was just gonna ask, back then when you got the Warpless record, how much slower is that than the any%? Like, how much more of the game do you have to play?
Well, I mean, it's very from back then. The workplace was about 33 minutes, and the any percent was 17:30.
So it's like
So it was
you skip half the
almost
game,
twice.
any%.
Yeah, not exactly, but yeah, you skip auto scrollers, long levels, and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that take a lot of time.
I guess 90% you at least save time on half the game, but
Yeah, yeah, you skip a lot, and that's the thing. Battletoads is a beautiful game. So
mm,
I mean, I understand any percent is usually the category is more popular, but I think Warpless is definitely it's a better respect for the developers of the game.
mhm,
The the pretty cool rare developers, the people who make a few years later or Donkey Kong Country and many other great jewels that people enjoy for life.
mhm. Yeah, I'm a Warpless guy myself, so I understand. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, definitely an impressive first record, I'd say. Were there any other big milestones or interesting games played back then, or speed ran, I guess?
Well, I mean, there were many people. For example, when I joined, there was a very constant battle between a Swedish Dexter
Mhm.
and Josh the Funk Dog, which was. Still remember that the first live stream I watched was Cosmo, right?
Mhm.
And the second was Siglemic with Mario 64, but the third one I watched was Josh the Funk Dog. Um, he I was very impressed because I'm gonna tell you how I find out about live streaming. Right, I joined to lurk because I wanted to chat, and he say, "Oh, hi," and he say my username, and I'm like, "How does he know I'm watching?"
Hmm.
See that I told you that it was a mind blow for me. I was like, man, I didn't say hi or anything. How does he know I'm watching? I was kind of like scared and surprised at the same time. Uh, So, well, back then, Just the Funk Dog had like a constant battle with Dexter. They were trading world records back and forth in Batman. So that was at the time being pretty fun and cool to watch. A lot of people were watching because it was insane. Like in terms of days, like they were trading the world record, and that was pretty awesome to watch. Um, like a big milestone that was like for me, I guess Battletoads was the game that was more meaningful to me. So like nobody seemed to care about Battletoads. The speedrunner who was speedrunning the game like retired and before I even joined. So the speedrunner who was the really good world record holder, right, for the 90% Ictus. Um, so I was kind of all alone there. So I even joined YouTube, and there was a guy who had like a really kind of speed run in a way. So I was like, hey, I just beat your time, on the game. I'm doing live streams of the game. If you wanna come and watch, like there's speed runs live and stuff like that. And he replied to me, that's JC. So I basically contacted him on YouTube, and later I helped him set up his uh, Twitch channel and everything. Guide him, well, not the Twitch channel, but how to make the races, his account, and I explained him step by step how to do everything, and he was pretty excited. So in a way, I find as well like a person who was my rival in the game as well.
Mhm.
So that JC, like he's a hardcore speedrunner, is a very good speedrunner, one of the best speedrunners I have met because he's very good. Once he learns a game, it's rock solid, like rock solid. Um, so it was pretty cool, like a really world contender to have at the time. Like not many people speedrun the game, but the few people who speedrun the game, they were really good at the game. So that was well the few people. It was just JC and me
Mhm.
basically for a lot of years, for like 2 years or three, which was a lot. While the speedrun community was getting bigger, not Battletoads. It was just JC and me trading records back and forth. But at many points I had all the world records. At many points he has had all the world records in Balto, so it's pretty cool. At the moment, I think he has all the world records, which is insane right now, especially. But yeah, it was pretty cool, and that was back in 2013, right?
Mhm.
Eventually, when I had the world records, like I was a person who just wanted to have the world record. I was not looking or aiming for a time. Jason is the kind of people who like going for a time that he
Mhm.
sets his mind into, which is pretty cool. But for me, it was just like I just wanted to have the world record, to say that I'm the world record holder of this game. Some people don't like saying world record because there is no official agency that gives you world records or
Mhm.
guarantee you world records or something like that. They just say the best time at the time, which it's pretty cool. Just probably for sure people say world record.
Mhm.
It's longer, dude, but yeah, the best time. But yeah, I mean, for me that was enough. So many times, whenever I was achieving a world record, I stopped playing the game. I started to play other games. That's why like Contra came into play, Darwin Dog, and so many other games that I used to speedrun. Adventure Island 2, Castlevania 4,
Mhm.
and so on, so on.
It's nice that to have competition in a run, especially when there's not a lot of runners. It, I'm sure
Yeah,
it helped a lot push the time down.
yeah, exactly. Because like we were doing races as well of Baltos, and we were talking and discussing strats, and it's like you find a friend who shares the love for the same game that you do, and that for me was really hard to find someone like him because it was Baltos. Not many people play that game. The few ones who play it like stopped playing it because it was too difficult, and yeah, it definitely required like a champ to play that game.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. I still need to play it, but I know it'd be a challenge. So.
Yeah, it's a cool challenge. You're not gonna, just keep in mind that that was NES. Many people
Hmm.
remember when I was playing were asking me, "Oh, this is a pretty cool SNES game."
Hmm.
That is how beautiful Baltos look like, or the
Yeah.
speedrun. I don't know, like it's just like people mistaking that game for SNES, and it was not only one person; there were several people. So
Hmm.
yeah, definitely it's a cool, a nice looking game. I will say.
Oh yeah.
I was very impressed, and I'm still impressed today. Like how cool and simple make like a great game.
Hmm. Oh yeah. It's very technically impressive. I mean, yeah, I like watching speedruns of the game myself, so I've definitely seen plenty of it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing that that's all working on an NES. I'm sure it was a later release where you start to learn more about how what the console's capable of, but I mean, using it
yeah,
to its full potential there is still like really cool to
yeah,
see.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you list off some other games there. Any ones like really stick out as like a good project to work towards?
Yeah. Oh, you were asking me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, if there were some other, could you repeat me the question, please?
I just said you listed off some other games you played, like you'd get the world record and then like switch to something else.
Yeah, yeah,
Were there any
pretty
like
much.
uh any of those things you list off, if there were like nice notable grinds or like impressive time set, anything like that?
Uh, Maybe I don't know.
All right, fair enough.
It's just hard for me to say. I think getting a world record was way easier back in the day.
Hmm.
It was
Oh
just
yeah.
way easier. The thing is, I told you that I was never like practicing section by section. If I would have been doing that other people were doing that, I would have gotten so many more world records just by having a very deep knowledge of the game. But no, I was just having fun playing the games, like just trying. Oh, let's try this game. Boom, playing, beaten. Then I put a timer, and I'm speedrunning the game, right?
Hmm.
Didn't even research strats or anything. I was trying to come up with my strats and just keep doing that. But yeah, I would say Baltos was a big deal, just because it's a hard game and many people knew that.
Hmm.
For me, it was a game that I love. It's not that I wanted to speedrun the game because it was hard. No, it's just a game that I like a lot. So
Hmm.
I think that was the most impressive one. Probably getting any percent world record, which was definitely difficult. And I think that was a big milestone because I used to play the game, I don't know, maybe a month, but not all the time. It's just sometimes. Uh, and it was, I mean, I was very close, but it was difficult to get that world record because the time at the time being, it was very good. I was very close, like a minute behind, which is almost nothing, like
Hmm.
back in the day. Uh, yeah, a minute behind, but not even like training proper strategies or anything. It was just playing the game, trying it, like trying to learn on the fly. And so, you see, it was pretty cool. But whenever I got that, any percent was pretty nice.
Hmm.
So that was like a big step for me. But there were several games that, for example, Contra. You know, I mean, those are big things, right? Those are
Hmm.
big things. I say it very easily, but definitely getting a really good time at the time, it was also difficult, right? So definitely, I got some talent, right? Playing video games. I was not just like your average player. I was better than that. So getting world record in Contra was good. For some, it was very huge. For me, because of it's just it depends. Like if the game means not much to me, I mean, I'm just gonna say, oh yeah, it was okay. But probably that's saying like not much because it is bigger than that.
Hmm.
But the one that I felt like in my heart that it was very big, it was Baltos.
Yeah.
Until today, it just has that place. I have done speedruns of other games, getting world record in other games, but in Baltos always feels good, and it still feels good whenever it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So.
just a game that I love. Basically, why I was playing other games was because I had an audience already. So people wanted me to play another game. So I was like, well, I mean, I can play another game, and that's how. But yeah, I never like casual playing. I like doing races, but just playing casually a game, I never like that
Mm, interesting.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just I'm a very atypical gamer.
Yeah, you typical gamer. Uh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, everything seems like non-usual, like the approach and all
Yeah.
that. But I mean, it worked out. So there you go.
No, I mean just because I'm a competitive person, right? And if I'm doing something, I like it to do it well.
Hmm.
That's that's just a personality that I have, right? Otherwise, like I feel I'm just wasting my time. I mean, some people like to play for fun. To me, I don't know. I prefer to climb a mountain, go play sport games with friends, go swimming, go on a hike or stuff like that. That's more like for me the casual gaming people do.
Hmm.
Uh, like those kind of things are my casual gaming, right? Like I prefer to do that. It's just the way I am. I was not playing video games for since when I was 12. I stopped playing video games until I find the live streams, basically.
Mm.
Until I was 25. I mean, here and there, maybe a friend we used to play in Mexico was always big winning 11 or some FIFA. So we're just playing those kind of games, and my friends, none of them were into games, so I had to do other stuff basically. I didn't have like a person to relate with other than my brother. My brother till this day, I would say like he's more a gamer than I am. Just happened to play good the games,
Mm-hmm.
but he really likes and loves the games, which is it's it's what most of the people feel about games.
Yeah, I mean, there are millions of gamers, right? And not millions of speedrunners. Like you have to have some more competitive like spark to want to
Yeah,
like especially top runners. Like that's like a spark
yeah,
of competition because I mean, plenty of
yeah,
speedrunners are just like I want to do it for fun, which I mean,
yeah,
should always be doing it for fun should always exist, but yeah, there's going to be
yeah, yeah.
that group of people that are like, okay, here
Yeah,
we
but
go.
but there is that difference, right? Making something for fun or making something like treating it like a profession, or giving it the respect. Well, not respect, but just that. It's just like speed running. It's just becoming a professional in a game, right?
Hmm.
And that's very different than just literally having fun with a game, right? I think. I mean, you can have fun while doing that for sure, but there is that difference, and sometimes at the top level, people don't understand. Like normal people who don't speed run, who play games for fun in their free time, they just don't understand like how hard sometimes it's just to grind for a world record, have the right mindset, don't lose your mind, don't feel bad or frustrated. Like sometimes they don't understand that, and that's hard to explain to people
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because like you can grind for a world record, but it might never come, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
there's people who don't care about having the second best time. They just run the world record and that's it. But some people just don't get that.
Yeah. I mean, there are tons of different mindsets and ways to approach it. But yeah.
Exactly. But as you say, a competitive speedrunner needs to have the spark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes normal people just don't understand that. Why? Like many times have people come to your channel to tell you, why do you keep playing this game?
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I like the game. That's it. Short answer, I like the game. Like, but don't you get bored? Yeah, like
mm-hmm.
I might or I might not. You know, I'm just playing the
Speedrunning's
game.
speedrunning's great because, if you have this game you beaten plenty of times, it gives it replay value, infinite replay value, because you can always
Exactly,
improve at it. So,
exactly. And so, as I told you, people just sometimes don't get speedrunning.
yeah, yeah.
They just don't get it that it feels like a whole different way every single time you play the game, like a whole
Mm-hmm.
different way, like in a whole different scenario, right? Because just like, yeah, but games supposed to be like enjoyed. Like sometimes people say that, and you're like, yeah, I enjoy the game when I beat it the first time, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth time.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is how I'm having the enjoyment on the game that I used to love, or that I love a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's just just sometimes people think what they feel or think is the right. I don't get that people is different. There's different mindsets, as you say. Like you have the mindset of casual players, you have the mindset of competitive players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, why do people run the 100-meter dash? Don't they get bored? It's the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
it's the same kind of
Very
thing.
often, very often I use those kind of analogies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like you try whatever you can, like to tell people, right? To
Yeah.
tell what you do. Some of them will get it, some of them won't. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's the way it is.
Yeah.
That's why speedrunning is not a huge community.
I
Well,
mean,
I mean,
it's
it's
pretty big now, but yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, speedrunning is like any sport or something like that. It's just using competition to like get enjoyment out of some something because if it's competitive, you're all it's always different. You can just keep doing it and keep pushing yourself. And
yeah,
so there's infinite replay value essentially, and that could be for
yeah,
anything. Like
yeah,
sports, they're doing the same thing every time, like, but it's competitive, so they have a reason to keep pushing.
yeah, yeah. With a difference that speedrunning might not have like the big box, right?
Yeah, sure.
Unless you speedrun a mega popular game, right? That happens to have like a very good format
Yeah,
to reward their speedrunners or athletes.
yeah, but speedrunning's definitely more and more getting more popular and seen more in the light. A lot of people like speedrunners know it is, but yeah, it's definitely not perfect. I mean, even recent some like news people and stuff still don't understand gaming in general.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
reference to the lady reporting on the Tetris thing that just happened. Like, I mean, there's always going to be those people, but I think we're seeing less and less of it, luckily, and that's a good thing.
yeah, yeah. It's different. It's different for a lot of people. Same the way people didn't get YouTube. Now
Hmm.
they understand, right?
Yeah.
At least we think they understand. But yeah, speedrunning is 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 on that early phases of YouTube, right? Well, I mean, not early phases, but yeah, not all the people get it because it's not for everyone.
It's not, yeah, but just because it's not for you doesn't mean you can't like respect them doing it, I guess. But
Well, I mean, don't people? Some people don't respect that,
yeah,
but
I mean,
people is people.
I guess. Anyway,
In the good and the bad way, right?
yeah, yeah. Anyway, that going back to the GDQ, you ran Contra. That one was that your first GDQ? You said.
No, I ran Battletoads, but fun fact, there was Contra there, but they
Oh, okay.
rejected my. You know, when the submissions for GDQ open, I submitted Contra.
Mm-hmm.
They rejected my submission. I was not the world record holder, but I was having probably the fourth best time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they rejected my submission.
Yeah.
I'm just giving some context, right? At the
Mm-hmm.
time that GDQ happened, I was having the world record in Contra.
Mm, I see.
And I was not running Contra.
That's funny.
Just, yeah, man. I mean, it's just an anecdote that maybe that even motivates me more to get the world record just to
Mm-hmm.
show them that is their means that they didn't pick me, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but when they picked me for Battletoads, which I can't
Okay.
complain. And that was the game I speedrun, Battletoads.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the first game. It was originally supposed to be a race between me and JC, but his flight got like canceled and something like that. And
God.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, JC is a person who is unlucky to travel. I will
Mm.
say, like stuff always happens to him, right? When it comes to traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I didn't know back then, but well, that happened. So I end up running the game by myself. I showed the game. Definitely took a lot of pressure off on the race. But yeah, that was the game. And there was like back then GDQ used to have like a bonus content after the main event was over. So then I speedrun Lion King, the Lion King.
Got it.
Uh, yeah, and those were like the two games. It was pretty cool. It was also my first time in the United States. And what was pretty cool and remarkable about that travel to GDQ, it was not exactly me playing the game. I mean, probably for people who like speedruns, it might be like a dream just to be a GDQ playing a game. For me, that was not my dream, but it was an experience, a life experience. But what was very, very nice to me, it was meeting all the people, all the speedrunners from the speedruns live community, like all the people who I was watching there for over a year. I finally got to meet a lot of them because back then, even that GDQ, there were a lot of people who were not speedrunners who went just to watch the speedrunners,
Mm-hmm.
but still still was mainly speedrunners, which was pretty cool. Because the previous GDQ was only speedrunners, so everyone was really happy because you get to talk about the video games, you get to play with them. They were to teaching you tricks, and you just put a name to the a face to the name that you used to watch, right? Like for example, I remember meeting Dram, Trihex, Cosmos, Iglemic,
Mm-hmm.
very big names. I think Darby and I met him after. No, it wasn't that year. I got to meet Mitch, Salard, Sinister One, many, 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 many big name people. The Swedish speedrunners, Dexter, Joka. Who else was there? I don't remember who else was there because Bad Breaks was not in that one. But later on, I get to meet him. Uh, Andrew G. Talking about Mario. Uh, Yeah, many, many, many. Cipher, Blecky. Yeah, pretty. Like that was a lot of fun. Like having and enjoying the time with those people who finally I got to watch, to meet in person. So that was pretty cool for me.
Mm-hmm. That's my
So
favorite
that
part
that's
about
what I
GDQ.
remember. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just get to play and know and get to meet those speedrunners. But that was my first JDQ, and the second one, like I get to meet Darby and other people. Maybe the second or third one, I don't remember. But I got to meet Lack Attack too. So it was pretty cool because there was like every year I was getting to meet somebody else, somebody new. You used to hang out with some of those people. With others, you just got to play, which is pretty nice. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I think I feel great to get to meet a lot of people. Also, I got to meet the community because at that time there were some people who wanted to meet me as well, later GDQs, and that to me felt like pretty nice because yeah, it's just all the people who you have been, watching their usernames, like especially coming to say hi to you, to take a picture, to get a signature or something. It was a nice experience.
Hmm.
That was really hard for me to understand, but yeah, definitely it felt nice, like seeing that there were real people, right?
Yeah,
Because yeah,
not
just
just
by
a
watching the
username.
chat, you see the username, you get to see what is the personality of the person, but meeting them like in real person is definitely makes it much more special.
Hmm. So, your first GDQ, do you know which one that was?
2014,
AGDQ 2014.
yeah, January,
Got it.
AGQ.
That is like the first larger one, from what I've heard, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think they reached $1 million.
Mhm.
That
That
was the
was the
first
first
one.
million. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the first one. Not sure.
Wow. Crazy how far it's come. That's 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, like exactly. It's January.
even Twitch, it had also like way more viewers on Twitch. I don't
Hmm.
remember how many it had, like 220,000, 250,000.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, because it was front page on Twitch. Even Twitch give some pizzas for the event for the
Mm.
speedrunners.
Dang, I missed out on the good old days. Pizza.
Oh, no, I mean there's pretty cool stuff Twitch do for the partners and other stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, I never really care about that, but yeah, it's just at Twitch cons and stuff like that. There's like partner lunch and I don't know, just that's some stuff. But I'm a man of people, so I don't like getting into that exclusive only things. I'm just together with all the people, so
Yeah.
just having fun.
Yeah. So, when you ran Battletoads, was that any percent or warpless?
When I started, it was any percent, but yeah, just I guess I needed a little break of 20%, so I started playing War Plus,
I see.
and that's when on the second day I think I got the world record.
Hmm. Got it.
Then I
Uh,
switched back to 20%.
got it. Sorry, I meant that GDQ run.
Ah, yeah, it was Battletoads any percent.
Okay.
Don't remember actually. I don't. I have
Well,
bad memory. I have bad memory.
that
Like
okay.
like
That's it was Battletoads. That's all that matters. The most
exactly. In
important
my in
game
my
you
in
could have
my
played.
in my heart is Baltos. That's it. No matter how I present Baltos, it's the
Got it.
the game.
Got it. Got it. You
Yeah,
said something I actually had no idea about bonus content after the GDQ streams. I've never heard of
yeah,
that.
yeah. They used to have something like that. The official marathon, I think it was what was it? Sunday to Saturday, and then they just keep running the stream, but no with schedule or anything.
Hmm.
So they basically had a blackboard. You could put your name and the game you were gonna run,
Interesting.
and yeah, for people who didn't get to play a game or something.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Um, it's a shame they
Yeah,
stopped
that
doing
was
that.
well.
But
They
I mean,
stopped doing a lot. They stopped doing a lot of stuff, man.
yeah, I've heard, but
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's a really cool thing they allowed. Just like, hey,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
go at
For
it.
the for the time was more easygoing
Mm,
everything.
yeah. It definitely sounds like it was a fun time back then. I mean, it's still a fun time, but yeah, they feel like different events almost. It's a lot more large
Yeah,
now.
yeah. It's larger, so they need to be careful, like what happens or not. They need to have
Hmm.
more control and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you know, it's natural that they change for what they think is better, because they were say like there were GDQs. I think that was the GDQ that the runner was speaking, and a donator reader was like just abruptly stopping the whatever was explaining the runner, just to say like, oh, we got a $10 donation. And I remember there was like a kind of feel from the runners, because the donation readers were not speed runners back then, kind of.
Mm,
uh, there was a feel like, it's pretty cool, but they should let the people talk about the game more than reading the donations.
hmm.
So there was kind of a feel like that. So then, like another GDQ, they kind of uh, decided to approach more like, to ask the player like, oh, can I read
Hmm.
a donation or something like that, because yeah, definitely, probably a lot of people give some feedback and they felt that way.
Hmm.
And while it has been always kind of oriented on gaming and you know uh, charity, uh, they wanted to push more the charity than the gaming. It felt like that.
Hmm.
And because people were not happy, probably they took a wise decision to, let the player play and speak, rather than, yeah, because like those guys are the talent, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's definitely
if
a good
anything was
change.
different, yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
I think so. I think so. So yeah, it was just a lot of stuff had to happen in order to find like a perfect balance.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I mean that's true for anything. Don't know until you give it a try and see what sticks and what doesn't. So, and
Yeah,
they've made it work. So they've definitely done some good stuff.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
so have you? What other GDQ runs have you had?
I have had like a lot. I I had a race of contract with DK. Uh, I had to play Lion King, Adventure Island, Cuphead.
Mm.
Mm, what other game? Oh, Battletoads Co-op with JC. Yeah, that was amazing. 2015, I remember.
You
Uh,
always remember the Battletoads run.
yeah, 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 definitely. So yeah, a lot of stuff. Even I did Battletoads blindfolded. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have done a lot of stuff. Pretty cool things. Oh, I even play Mario Maker as well, the very first edition.
Were you in like the little relays they had back then?
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. I was in one of the teams. There were two teams of four people, so I was there. I also play like the one of the things that I love a lot, which was to me real gaming, which is mystery tournament. Well, the mystery tournament, that is what it's called, which basically you do blind playthroughs of video games,
Hmm.
and that is where it shines if you're a good gamer or not. So I used to love that, and the people from that community uh, decided that it was time to showcase that at the GDQ, and they accepted like a showcase of blind racing. So I joined
Hmm.
that one as well.
Cool. So
Yeah.
they just choose a game and then a group of people blind play
I,
through it for
well,
the first time.
yeah, exactly.
That's really
So
cool.
there was we all like massive submitted that, so we wanted to get it in. So the more probably more would put attention to that. And there were like the committee that they didn't tell us which games we were gonna play. They was just selecting the games, and that's it.
Hmm.
It's like in a tournament format, and yeah, I got to play that one of the GDQs too.
Do you
Yeah,
remember
a
what
lot of.
game they did?
No, I don't remember. I remember
Fair enough.
that there was one game, the final game. It was like oh no, I remember. There was like a Donkey Kong game that you used to play with
Bongos?
congos. Yeah,
Oh,
bongos.
yeah, okay. I know what game that is. That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. It was that one. There was one that it was like Adventure Island one, but like remake.
Mm.
That was I don't know the Wii Virtual Store or something, Switch. I don't know. It was something like that, and other game that I don't remember it. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
But Marble Wiimote game.
Yeah, I just don't remember
That's
the Marble Wiimote game.
fair. That sounds real fun. I don't say that sarcastically. I'm sure it was good stream content though, that blind tournament thing.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely wanted to show something that was quite huge back in the day of SRO. There were some blind races that, to me, as I told you, like that's where your real gamer shines, right? Because there are
Hmm.
people who adjust very quickly to the controllers to figure out very quickly what to do in a game, and those are gaming skills.
Hmm.
Speedrunning also has its gaming skills, which is learning strats and doing them in a very good way. But I feel like speedrunning in a way will be easier than blind racing, because blind racing, like, you're facing another person who hasn't seen the game as well. So virtually, see, in speedrunning you can say, oh, that guy has like 1,000 hours, that's why he has the world record, right?
Hmm.
And but in blind racing it's like you both guys have 0 hours in the game.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's why I really like blind racing, just because it shows the true talent of people in a way.
Yeah.
Well, not the true talent, just a different talent, which is blind racing.
Yeah, blind racing's learning while speedrunning is execution. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, trying to speedrun the execution, but in the long term I learned through many blind races that if you go a little slower it's better, just because you're safer and you die less. And some games are very punishing that take you back, like a lot back, because usually it's retro games that they
hmm.
speedrun, or well, that they blind race. So yeah, it just takes you back, 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 back.
Well, very cool concept. I don't think I've ever seen a blind. No, maybe that's not true. I don't know.
But yeah,
But I mean,
but
the
yeah, I mean,
concept's very cool.
it's very cool, and that tournament is open to everyone, so it's pretty nice. And they do 2 editions per year. You should join one of those
we'll,
mystery tournament.
we'll see about that. But yeah, so they're still doing it.
Yeah, and the finals are on the Speedruns Live channel.
Hmm, it's
Uh,
good.
just to tell you a little bit.
I see. So is there like a Twitch channel that it's streamed on, or is?
Yeah, I don't remember what was it. Mystery. I think, well, the game is Mystery Fun House. That's usually the game. But let me try to quickly search. But I might make some noise. But it's just Mystery Tournament. You just
Mm-hmm.
type that, and I
Should
think
find
it's
what you
Beat
need.
the Game. That is the website. Beat the Game.
Interesting. I'll have to do
Yeah,
some research myself. It's
it's
interesting, and I don't think I've seen enough of it.
it's beatthega.me. It's Beat the Game. That's the website. Yeah, pretty
Perfect.
cool. Honestly, it's easy, man.
Yeah, easy to
Yeah,
remember.
later on I will just send you the link. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. They have changed as well a lot, and yeah, the requirement to enter that tournament is pretty nice, because you just have to submit to winning conditions
Hmm.
for games, and it has to be between achievable between 15 to 45 minutes.
Mm. So not
Yeah.
very long
Yeah.
at all. Interesting.
Yeah, sometimes it's not beating a whole game, but you can just submit whatever you feel like, and usually they draw a game, and yeah,
Hmm.
part of the beauty is that those submissions are submitted by people. They also have now testers and stuff like that that
Hmm.
make sure the goals are achievable. Yeah, it's just pretty nice. It's a lot of work that those guys put behind that. I really like that.
Yep.
So
Very
yeah,
cool.
talking about GDQs, I have also been in, in events like an equivalent in Europe called
ESA.
ESA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have also been part of those ones.
Was it ESA where I know there's a famous clip of you beating the turbo tunnel blindfolded in a live event?
Yeah, yeah, that was at ESA. That was at ESA, and it's the very first time I beat that turbo tunnel blindfolded, deathless. So it was just
Oh,
not beating the turbo tunnel blindfolded; it was deathless at a live event. It was insane, man.
and the first
It
time you
was
ever
insane.
pulled it off was at a live event.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It
Wow.
was.
That's
Yeah,
quite
and I did
ridiculous.
it, and I didn't even submit that
Mm.
because I wanted to have an easy time at the ESA. I didn't want it to be like worried, like, oh, I have to do that, I have to do that. No, I just wanted to have an easy time, right? So I didn't submit that, and I remember that I didn't submit for that particular reason. I just wanted to just chill out, hang out, enjoy with people, and one person from the staff came to me and she said like, "Oh, you're speedrunning Baltos, right?" I was like, "Yeah." Oh, by the way, the incentive got met, and I was like, "What incentive?" The blindfold. I was like, "I didn't submit that incentive." Because I really remember, I didn't want it to have a hard time. I just wanted to enjoy the event.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah." Oh, oh. I looked like the trouble in her face. I was like, "Oh, don't worry. If you want, I can do it." Because the run was in half an hour or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not even mentally ready for that, and I was like, "Oh man." Well, then I just went and tried to practice. Didn't went so well, but
Apparently,
yeah.
the strategy is don't practice and it'll go perfectly.
Nah, I think it was a one-time thing, very
Yeah,
lucky, and I think it
maybe.
has been the only time, or maybe another time, I have gotten a deathless later on, but at home, which it's just different, very different.
Well,
So
you
yeah,
you sure met expectations for their donation incentive, so there you go.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It just to me it was insane because like my reaction was very genuine. I didn't know. I just wanted to curse or something. I said like, "Are you effing kidding me?"
Yeah.
Because I didn't believe what happened. Like I even stand up, took out like the bag. I had like a hostage bag because they didn't have a blindfold or anything.
Mhm.
So there was like Emily, the girlfriend of Andy, Swiss speedrunner, and she had like, "Oh, I have the bag." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that can work." But that bag became very special to me because that was something tangible that I had that I could like. It kind of remind me of a huge thing that I did. See, earlier I told you that I care too much about Baltos. That to me also was huge. That was huge, and I told her that I want to buy her what was that thing, the bag, and she was like, "Oh, but it's my lovely bag." I was like, "I know, but to me, like what I did there, it was just a one-time thing. I don't know if I will ever will do that." And the fact that it was in front of now, I wanna have that back as a reminder of that. And she was like, "Okay, I understand." So I wanted to buy it, but yeah, she gave it to me.
You still have it?
I do, I do.
Well.
Well, now I do some shopping with it, but still I have the back. Well, I mean, It's a bug after all, right?
Yeah,
But
you're right.
of course, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, that's really funny. But I mean,
and
yeah.
it was the most viewed clip from ESA
Hmm.
at that
Oh, I'm
point.
sure. Like,
Not sure if it has, you know, changed or not.
yeah,
Yeah, it was insane. It was
I
insane.
remember everyone talking about it. Like, that's why I brought it up. I remember it happening. So
Yeah, yeah, it was just
big
insane
moment.
for sure,
But yeah,
for sure, and totally unexpected, man.
it's actually interesting learning the backstory behind it because that almost makes it more impressive, just not being prepared at all for
Yeah, yeah, no, I did not practice at all, like at all, like at all. Only 20 minutes before my run. It was half an hour to my run, so you have to be backstage probably like 10 minutes before your run starts. So yeah, I had only 20 minutes and that's it.
it. Do you have any, or do you know why blindfolded was there if you didn't submit it?
Because they knew that I could do it blindfolded.
Oh,
And
okay.
they want to bring in donations.
They submitted it on your behalf.
Yeah, pretty much. They
It's
just
funny.
put it up there. And I was like, oh, by the way, your donation incentive got met. I was like, what incentive? Yeah,
Well,
I remember that.
best decision they've ever made.
Yeah, it turns out very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, at least I was fine and no stress until those 20 minutes before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it all works out. There you go.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's like something I remember very well happening. So I'm glad I got to learn more about it. It's a very interesting
Yeah,
backstory. So,
yeah, insane, insane.
but yeah, trying to remember. I'm trying to keep it on a timeline, but I keep jumping everywhere. So, um, because obviously there's one big elephant in the room we haven't talked about yet, but I don't know when you transitioned from speedrunning to that. So I don't know if I've missed anything from like the early speedrunning days yet that we haven't gone over. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, mm, yeah. I mean, I used to play games and kind of get world records in them back in the day, and so at the time there was another game I didn't mention that much, Super Castlevania 4. That was another one that I was supposed to be at the GDQ, but there
Mm,
was a speedrunner coming from Japan. I was having the second or third best time at the time. It was a four-way race, but once again, I was the bigger man, right? And I didn't, I didn't get to race that time
mm-hmm,
just because, yeah, I mean, I kind of step out, leave my place to some other people.
mm-hmm,
And that was Super Castlevania 4 that it was supposed to happen at a GDQ event. But yeah, I was speedrunning the game, kind of. Well, I mean, had the best times, kind of there. But that game in particular, it was very rough in my hand. Like, even today, I have like a bone thing coming out. And I was for holding the SNES controller in a
mm,
particular way, I guess. I was hurting my hand. So when I was speedrunning that game, it was very brutal on my bone in the back. That when I was playing the game, I was very close to the world record. Never had the world record in that one,
mm.
but it was hurting that I didn't want to injure myself.
Yeah.
So I felt like I needed a break from speedrunning, and so I was just talking to Chad, like, "Hey, what do you guys think I should do?" And only beautiful suggestions as usual,
Mm-hmm.
adorable suggestions. Well, none of them seem good to me. It's like, "Oh, you can play games casually." I was like, uh, that's yeah, that's not for
Boring.
me. Yeah, pretty much. I was like, that is. I don't like playing games casual because I feel like I have no goal or no purpose to
Mm-hmm.
play the game. Like like I like NES games because they're hard. But usually playing games, especially modern games, that are just very easy to complete. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like it didn't make a click on me to play casual, right? So I kind of wasn't sure like what to do. I wanted like to take a break from speedrunning. So I was having a conversation with a friend on Skype, Lepinoch from Chile. And I remember back in the day, Big John had something that he called ABC. No, not ABC, AZ Games or something like that. He was playing a game with the letter A, and he was switching to a game with the letter B. And I was like, that thing is kind of cool. It seems interesting, but what I don't like is that he doesn't beat the game. That's what I say to him on the call, and he was like, "Well, just beat the game." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." So um, he told me, "Well, then play NES games." I was like, "Yeah, I like NES games." Well, then there you go. Just beat all the games. I was like, "Yeah," but he was just like more like just saying, throwing stuff
Mm-hmm.
out there, and I was like, "Man, that really sounds interesting." Because one in well, another big thing that you miss probably, well, that you didn't know, not
Mm-hmm.
not miss, you did not know. Yeah, back in the day, well, I was, at Speedruns Live, like all the people who were there speedrunning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when I was having like 1K followers, someone told me, "Oh, congratulations on the 1K followers." I was like, "1K what?" "Yeah, followers. Are you gonna do a special stream?" And I'm like, "What? Why I need to do a special stream for 1K followers?" Uh, and he told me like, "Oh, usually people do stuff." I was like, "Well, sure." I was like, "What shall I do?" "I don't know. People do 24-hour streams." I was like, "Well, I can try." So then I tried a 24-hour stream. I was speedrunning Baltos and had to give up at 15 hours, I think. It was so much to handle.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
lot.
yeah, that's a lot, and I didn't know. But then my channel kept growing, and later I had 2,000 followers. So I was like, oh man, well, now that I know that people do something when you have certain followers, I was like, well, yeah, let's just do a 2K follower special. So I put some thought, and I was like, I remember talking with JC, and he was, oh yeah, he's on the Electric Transporter, like the 30 hardest NES games. He was talking about that website. I was like, well, maybe I should try to beat those 30 games. So that was my 2K follower special, trying to beat those games from the 30 hardest NES games, and I kind of succeed. I think only one I didn't beat, but yeah, it was a pretty interesting follower special. When I was finishing that follower special, I had kind of 2,890 or 2,900 followers, which was a huge success. So yeah, that was like one thing that I was getting out of the norm
Mm-hmm.
from what people were doing, right? Like kind of innovating for the 3K follower special. I was like, oh well, since I love Baldur so much, maybe I should beat every Baldur games.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for the 3K follower special. So I used to try to go out of creating stuff, right? Not following the, oh yeah, just do a 24 hours because people do that. I
Mm-hmm.
tried, it didn't work for me. I have done longer streams, not back then, but today, but it has to be different.
Mm-hmm.
What I learned later on. But yeah, I was just getting out of the norm stuff, and a lot of people were liking that a lot. So yeah, uh, just now resuming it to 2014, early 2014, when I was speedrunning Super Castlevania 4. my finger was hurting and I needed a break. So in a call with my friend, kind of like took shape, like the idea, and then I presented it to my stream, and they were like, "Oh man, that's awesome! How are you gonna do?" I don't know. Do you know which games? I don't know. Like so it started to take shape, but I was like, man, maybe if it's something that big, I need something. Well, I didn't even think it was big. I was just like, before I start, like I would like to have like a proper layout or something. Like for the project, right? For my 2K followers, I was doing some special kind of layout, so I wanted to present it nicely, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, Big John helped me out, kind of putting a very nice layout uh, with ideas that we were discussing, which was like the layout kind of with that I started the project. So the project, I presented it. I call it Nesmania because it is. There used to be a program TV show held by a very nice Mexican person, Luz Rodriguez. He died recently. Well, recently, a few years back. I got to meet him, but yeah, he had a in the '90s a show called Nintendo Mania.
Mm.
That was that was a must watch every Saturday as a kid in Mexico. A lot of people watched that show because he was talking about video games. He was traveling to Japan, so he was like a reporter about video games. That nobody did that. I mean, he was definitely like a pioneer at the time, and a lot of people remember him very fondly, especially kids from the '80s, '90s. Um, so I call it that project because I always like that Nintendo Mania name. So I call it Nesmania. Just it wasn't quite a ripoff, but it had like everything. So I think it was a cool name. And yeah, I presented Nesmania. When I started, I was on Speedruns Live, and when people started to find out about what was I trying to do, like it was big news, big news. It was big news in the speedrun community because some people were like in podcast and interviews like oh, how many games do you think he's gonna beat, do you think he's gonna beat it, he's gonna complete it, he's gonna give up and stuff like that. Like it started creating like a lot of talk among the speedrunning community. And then like all of a sudden, like if my stream was having, I don't know, like 500 people, all of a sudden was having like 800, 1000 people, because a lot of people, and I was getting followers like crazy, like crazy. See, I think when I started in this money, I had about 8,000 followers. Of course, a few years later, when I finished, it was like about 50K followers. Or I don't remember. It was something like that. I don't remember. It was insane. Like what I was trying to do. I didn't even realize it was that huge. But like after I started, like just getting to see how involved was the community, I was like, man, I just not created a monster, but like I was realizing that what I was doing was huge. I didn't realize that myself. It was just like something to take a break off from speedrunning, but didn't realize it was first of all that big because in the 2K follower special I beat the 30 hardest NES games, right? And I beat it quite fast in a way. So I was like, oh, how long can take beating all the games, right? If I already beat the 30 hardest, so it's only 708 at the time. So it was really surprising to me to see how the community got really involved. Like people start to help, offering to help out, making highlights on Twitch, and some other people starting to make like layouts. Some other people starting to make research on the video games. It's like, no, the list should be 709. There's this game, and Yeah, I was just playing the games. I was just putting some game, but like the community behind was doing a lot of research that I'm very lazy usually to do research. I don't like doing that. But they were very actively involved. Big John make a raffler, a programming raffler that I was doing a raffler for the next person to pick the game that I was gonna play. For me it was like I'm gonna play all the games, but if people viewers want to pick which game to play next, why not?
Hmm.
So it was pretty cool. Like everything just started to fit together to be a huge success. The project, like everything was just pretty cool. I had to take some decisions, in certain cases that it was really hard, like to establish what's a winning condition for a game that is keep looping, that doesn't give you an end. So it was like a new ground, right? But when I started, like also, I don't know, maybe a month after, or a few weeks after, uh, someone told me, "Oh, has anyone done this?" And I was like, "I don't know." And people just asking. It was that's why it was so huge, because nobody made something like that, and it sounds quite simple, right? But nobody has done it. So it was just crazy because it was just huge. It was huge and good, and the community and support was always there. Also, one important decision I didn't wanted to take. For example, I saw many people who back in the day Mario Maker came out, and I remember playing that game and having huge success on Twitch with that game. A lot of people wanted to see good speedrunners playing the game. And I remember when I was playing the game, I got to 6,000 viewers, which was
Holy.
insane. I got really big rates from other people, other big streamers, but like the norm was like 2,000 whenever I was playing that game. And I was like, man, if I will care about money, I should be playing this game. But I'm kind of a man of principles, and I was like, just playing the modern game doesn't feel right, because I don't care about those games. I mean, they're huge. I didn't treat like streaming as my job, just as a hobby. So I was like, it doesn't feel right to do that. Because I used to watch many people who just were like, oh, the new game comes out and they just play it and you know pretend to like a game. I'm not that kind of guy. Mario Maker was fun. No, not gonna say it was bad. It just I had to make a decision. I was like, well, I mean, I have this project that is something huge that it can afford something and make a big name for me, not just be a popular no one. Well, I mean, that's how I thought. See, like going back to the mentality of competing.
Hmm.
I'm a kind of person who like leaving a legacy or something. Something enjoyable to people to remember me. Or you know, if that's what I'm gonna do, that I leave a track on Earth, right? That I was here. This is me, right? So it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm a musician, so I know like a lot of musicians are meant to die poor. So I was like, so be it. If this is what it is gonna be, so be it. And what I wanted to do with Nesmania, there was a lot of thought before starting, because there were at times that it was so easy to involve people. Like there were some people. Oh, I want you to play this game. Can you play it? And he was like, oh, I can pay you to play that game. And I was like, man, it's just I really appreciate all the donations, but this project, I will feel wrong asking for money for the project, because I'm doing it out of love for the NES. I don't want money to be involved with the project, because it's gonna what if I cannot beat a game? What if I don't finish a project? Like it's just gonna feel bad. I'm gonna feel bad. The person maybe donating was gonna feel bad. So since the beginning, I decided to make it money free and for the viewers, right? Because I didn't want it like someone who donated like to have more power than someone who didn't donate, right?
Hmm.
I just wanted people to be equal, right? And have the same fun watching the event. And yeah, I decided to make it money free, which was pretty, a pretty huge step. And it paid off. Like people who watched Nesmania at the time had a really great time during that quest that I had. They put a lot of trust, and part of it was as well making it official because I saw how involved the community was. There's like a current or a type of gamers that are purist, right? Like
Hmm.
if you don't play in console, it's not legit, right? And I was like, man, if I'm doing this and this is so huge, I need to somehow, do it in the legit hardware.
Hmm.
So that's when I started like I started on emulator because I didn't have the cards at the time. Um, I was trying just listening to the community, trying to put the right steps in order to make it as legit as possible. So I was asking the community like if they have any game that they don't use, just in the attic, like collecting dust, like it doesn't matter the condition as long as it's the game and it's the original game. If you want to send it to me, I will really appreciate that. So I started like that, and people make a list of the games. So people were shipping the games to my house. I was buying some whenever I was traveling to GDQs. I was going to stores and stuff like that. So it was like a huge. I always feel backed up by the community. I was insane, like how much people really helped me out, care about me too, and well, yeah, that's what I did,
Well,
and it made very big news all around the world.
oh yeah. Yeah, I still hear it talked about quite frequently. And a lot of people now do something similar, like they'll do it with a different console or something, and it's always
Yeah,
inspired by this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why. Yeah, I feel blessed to have the creativity. See, I'm a creative person, and I usually don't watch that much. Other people don't try to copy stuff from others, so that's why sometimes people like my stream because I'm just me.
Hmm.
I mean, you may like what you see, or you may don't like, but you know it's me. I'm not faking anything. So part of it had the charm of that. And yeah, the pretty cool thing that I was a good speedrunner that also lead people that to believe that I can finish it, right?
Hmm.
I didn't know like how many RPGs real time simulators were when I started, but it was pretty cool. There were a lot of people always there like cheering, rooting, and it was just a lot of support.
Hmm. So, how long did it take from beginning to end?
Uh, it, it was 3,000 hours, 454 hours.
Hmm.
It
Jeez.
was, yeah, I put it on time because it was 2.5 years, but there's one thing that you don't know, some people don't know. The reason why I started live streaming, well, at the beginning was to have fun, but later on, I came back to Mexico and my mom was sick. So live streaming was my hobby. So I was streaming because it was something that I could do at home to take care of my mom.
Hmm.
She was very, very, very needy of take care. So that was something I could do at home. So that's why like I was streaming because if my mom needed something, I can just go to her and help her out. And yeah, that was in 2013. at the time I started Nesmania, the very next day she got her first hemodialysis, which it's huge. It just had a kidney disease. So everything. So that's why I'm telling you the time in hours because not all the time I was able to stream.
Mm-hmm.
I I was I was doing streaming on the second as a second thing. My main thing was taking care of my mom, helping her out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all that happened during Nesmania, uh, during that project. So it was pretty cool that people were there supporting me. Of course, the sickness of my mom was not that cool. It was it was very difficult for me. It was very
Mm-hmm.
difficult for me because having a family member sick is never good, and the healthcare system back then in Mexico it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like the greatest, so it needed a lot of time, patience. Uh, Sometimes there are whole families. In my case, it was just me. My brother was living in a different city, and he could only give moral support, but the physical work and everything was me, right? And I was 26-year old back then, right? So usually when people, help their fathers and mothers are usually, I don't know, 50, at least 45. I was 25, and that was huge for me. That was huge for me. I decided to see in my mind, I wanted to help out my mom like 2, 3 years until she recovers, but little I know about life, man. Yeah. So
Well,
that turned into a lot of years, and at the end my mom died, but that's another story.
yeah.
Not getting related, but just trying to give you some context background of what was going on while I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, sometimes you need to have a smile right on the stream. Like, oh, why are you like not smiling? Why you look tired, man? I was so angry at those comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
because
sorry. I was just I'm incredibly impressed. You said it only took like 2.5 years. I thought it would take longer if that was what you were doing 24/7. Like the fact that it didn't take that long, despite all of that work, is really crazy to think
yeah,
about.
yeah, and on top of that, I was still speed running and going to GDQ events because most of my times were still top times. So I was submitting games and getting
Mm-hmm.
accepted. So yeah,
Wow. A
yeah.
lot of
So it
work.
was a lot of work, but that's not all. Like I wanted to properly have documented Nesmania, and just making sure I have a video for it and keeping track. So the 3,454 hours, that's just the time that it took to complete playing video games, but all the work that has been behind scenes is insane, man. Of
Mm-hmm.
Nesmania, it's easily twice as much or even more, because even today I never had like a computer or a good hard drive to back up the Nesmania. So finally, I decided to do that. I'm currently doing that. So many years that I finished Nesmania. I finished it in 2017. Um, oh wait, that was no 2016. I don't remember. 2017, yeah. No, so it was three years. It was almost 3 years. No, it was two and a half. Yeah, two and a half because I started late in 2016. Yeah. Well, anyway, um, so even today I'm still doing a lot of work, Nesmania related stuff. Yeah, to properly back up, to properly edit the videos, you know, because what I told you, very often I had to check on my mom, so there were a lot of parts that I had to pause the timer. I have to go back and check my mom, and I wanted to have like if anyone watches like a full play of that everyone could see like every single hour because I was playing the games blind too at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Very well, not at the beginning. Most of the time we're blind.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it. most of the times, and with no hints and no spoilers. So that's why like they also took way longer the games. Yeah, that's something that people don't talk about. But if you imagine an RPG that you have to use a grave, well, I mean, dig a hole like in front of a tree that it was a bad or a poorly mistranslation from Japanese. How can you supposed to know that without spoilers?
Yeah.
So, and those games were kind of unbeatable for me. And people ask me, "Oh, what is the hardest game you played?" So I'm gonna tell you, like, thinking about what people think a hard game, at least is playable and beatable, but not knowing that you have to dig a hole in front of a tree, you can play the game for 700 hours, will never find that out. So what game is harder? I mean, that's my reasoning for that, right?
Yeah.
The other game you can spend 100 hours, you will beat it eventually. But a game that, is just like that, without any extra info, huh? It's
Hmm.
not as easy as people think. Like, oh, I didn't think about that. But yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of stuff, and yeah, it's just you never end the work with Nesmania. You're never
Hmm.
done. But yeah, it's just like even looking today, I saw Spike Vegeta that he's doing Nesmania. As you say, many other people like after I started Nesmania, they started their own mania thing. That's why people call it a mania thing. Everything was inspired by Nesmania for sure. So they just changed sometimes the names, but the concept was exactly the same. So you know, I didn't even have trouble if people wanted to call it SNES Mania or Atari Mania or whatever Mania because it created like a name, a franchise.
Hmm.
People didn't want it to, feel like it was copy, but yeah, I didn't mind. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I was the first one. Nobody will change that.
There you go. The inspiration of them all.
Yeah, yeah, and even looking today and other people doing manias, like what I did back then when streaming sometimes was not as popular as today,
Hmm.
and how it looked like today compared to other people doing same projects. Like I was like, man, you can see a lot of work that was there,
Hmm.
and probably that's also another reason why people like it a lot. It was just a very nice thing, very well presented, very well. It took shape from all suggestions of people. I was good at listening to people, while a lot of times people just suggest not the greatest stuff. They, the very few who, well, it actually wasn't like few. There were a lot of people suggesting really great stuff that as a one person I will have not think about it. I couldn't think about everything, but it just make me listen more to the ideas of people. I mean, of course, sometimes I was just roasting people for how bad or I think their ideas were, but sometimes they were great ideas, and one of those ideas was like, hey, maybe you should save up a game for last so you don't end up playing a crappy game. Basically, what they say. I was like, man, that is actually very smart. And I was well, I already played Battletoads,
Hmm.
so I
Oh.
couldn't save it for last. So I was well, Mario Bros. 3 was not played, and I think it was if I would have to pick one of the most iconic NES games, definitely that one for how big it was.
Mm.
So yeah, that's why I save up uh, Mario Bros. 3 for last in that project.
Yeah. It's a good choice for last. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so how many games did there end up being? 700 something?
Yeah, 714. I went for all the licensed NES games released in America and European exclusive games,
Hmm.
the PAL exclusive. Because I didn't go for the Japanese games because I don't speak Japanese.
Hmm.
So a lot of them will need like to read, right? To read Japanese to know
Hmm.
what's going on. and to find out which ones are kind of beatable, which ones are not, and if you don't beat all of them, people is gonna complain. I didn't want it to dig into freaking gray area of that, so for that reason, I just decided to do those ones, and it was big enough the list, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically, all the Nintendo release games. Only there was one game, official license by Nintendo. There was one game that supposed to exist that nobody has seen it. A physical card. It's supposed to be a Mahjong released in Hong Kong.
Mm.
That was officially licensed by Nintendo. It's supposed to have a card that no one has seen it, but the rumor says that it exists, and that will be one game that I didn't beat. But because there is no even ROM on the internet or anything, there's nothing about that game. Like really nothing.
Yeah, I mean, did it until proven otherwise, right?
Yeah,
So it's fine.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, and even if that game comes to life or something, it's just one game. I can beat that game.
close
No
enough.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna change like that much because like no one has that game, so no one can really complain. Like, oh, it says that it's 715. Oh, do you have that game? Have you seen that game? Where can I buy that game? Where can I get? See, but people like talking, but when they need to make the research, there's not there. Oh, but this website says, yeah, sure, it says that. No one has seen that game. I'm sure it exists.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I thought the project was very high quality, especially for what you started in 2015, I guess. If it lasted till
Yeah,
2017.
I remember like introducing the two timers. It
Mm-hmm.
was it was complicated because you know I was like just having the timer for the game, but then people were like, "Oh, you should have the timer of the project, like how long it takes you." I was like, "Yeah, but how do I do that? Like I need to have the timer of the game, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you just have two timers. And I was like, "Two timers? Is that possible?" So I was having a lot of trouble capturing and stuff like that, but it just somehow took shape. Or I was trying at the beginning just putting plus 10 days or something like that because I just couldn't. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but I tried whatever I could, and the whole community was always full of ideas. I was always listening and willing to change whatever I thought it was a good change. So yeah, it just took shape. Also, another thing that I didn't mention, my brother. Also, back in the day, I was probably the only streamer who had a theme song. My brother wrote a song for me with the pause beat of Battletoads.
Mm-hmm.
It's called "Here Comes the Mexican Runner." It's a great song. My brother is a great musician. He recorded all by himself. He's also very creative as well. Musically creative is my brother. But so I had that thing. So for Nesmania, when I told him about the project, like he was, "Oh man, that's so cool! Oh, that's so huge! Oh yeah, I'm so happy." My brother has always been happy for me that I stream because I usually tell him stuff, what's going on, and he's always just rooting for me. He's so happy that I do this, and yeah, he's always very happy about it. He's a very positive person. So he gifted me a song for this project called Nesmania theme, he
Mm-hmm.
called it. So he recorded a very nice intro of like a choral because he's a singer, guitarist, a composer, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he did a pretty like a classical choral. He wanted for four voices. He wanted to have like a tenor and soprano too, but end up recording the voices himself. But and then with electric guitar, he tried to make like a 90s anime intro because those were epic. So he wanted something like that because it was epic for him. So yeah, he recorded a song. And that was a really great gift. It made me cry for sure when I received that. Later on, a person, the Russian ruiner, He created a video for that theme song because that was like 1 year on the project when I received that gift. We already have like cover arts that people were doing whenever I was playing a new game. I was putting like the cover art of the game, but the art of the game, the artwork. So people started to modify those artworks and creating really cool, funny stuff. So I added that to the well, I mean, he added those cover arts, pardon, sorry, for the video, and it was pretty nice. And that's the current video we have of Nesmania, which is also like insane. Like other people see, like it just everything was right. Like everything was right. Like all the work was there, and that's why probably my channel just stand out so much from other channels because it
Hmm.
was always fresh, always new, always something good.
Yeah. I mean, what theme song, website layouts, so much went into it, and it was the first of its kind. So it's going to be a learning experience because no one's ever done something like that before. So.
Learning, and so far I can tell you is one of the best things that has happened, like
Hmm.
from other people trying the same, because it requires you, like a lot of people started but didn't finish many other things. It's just
Hmm.
hard. It's hard. It's really hard because it takes a lot of time, gaming skills, patience, everything. So you know, like in essence was pretty cool the concept, but it's really hard to execute. And I was able to do it,
Hmm.
which not many people can, for sure, because different reasons. It's hard, it takes time. So yeah.
Yeah. Um. So since you played every NES game, at least through the bounds expressed, what are some highlights from that experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, there were difficult games that drive you insane. Like for example, Cobra Triangle. Like
Mm.
the last boss was, oh, I mean, spoilers for anyone listening. If you want to play the game, you can skip a little bit here. The last boss is a shark, and the hitbox was so bad that
Mm.
I was getting so mad because every single time, like the game was hard, made by Rare, the same creators of Battletoads. So they created like a kind of surf boat game called Cobra Triangle, and it was so difficult to get there. And once you reach there, like I was shooting, and it was just not hitting the shark. I was getting so mad. You hit the shark, but so bad because I will have to redo the game. Like you have limited continues, limited life. On top of that, you have time to kill the boss.
Mm.
Like really hard. So that was one thing that I think was, if you wanna see genuine rage, that was definitely the video that I will go. Then there were some other games like Ikari Warriors. I was using whatever was written in the manual, and if it was not there, for example, like the ABBA code, that
Mm.
was a developer's probably testing code. Um, I was not allowed to use stuff like that unless I find out by myself. But the problem is that I didn't find out by myself because Angry Video Game Nerd. He said that you can continue like that, so pretty much everybody knew that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to learn the game. For that game, I used save states to learn the game, to practice the game because it was a very big game. Really hard to beat, legit. I think at the time there was no single video of that game being beaten legit
Wow.
at all. Yeah. So I was in uncharted territories too. So making huge stuff. I found out a chopper glitch
Mm.
that was later used in speedruns, but there was a person saying that in theory there was a website that had an image, and that image had the chop glitch. So pretty much that person also find the glitch. So I was not the one finding the original glitch, but still, I mean, I didn't copy, didn't know about that. And of course, it can happen to anyone. It happened to me live. So yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff happened. But yeah, beating Daddy Carry Warriors, like, it was huge and very difficult to beat without the ABBA code. Uh, Beating Qbert is very difficult games. Arkanoid with the mouse controller, also pretty hard. And doing those, beating those games, people started to realize that definitely I'm a big deal. Like, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna go for it. So the more people were watching, they started to see more that I was serious about that. So I started to tackle the project, to beat games, and people started more to believe in me. And that project made a name for me for sure. Uh, for many reasons. Thanks to that project, I got an invitation to the Nintendo World Championships
Ooh.
from Nintendo of America in the United States. Many websites start talking about me and the project. When I finished the project, it was insane. It was just insane. It was until today the most viewers I have ever had on Twitch, and I'm glad I could share that special moment with a lot of people. So yeah, it was insane, and I remember uh, ciphering. No, cipher. He asked me once at a GDQ, like, I think that was in 2018 or 17. He asked me, "Oh, do you have any other big project?" I was like, "No," just
I
like
think
that,
you've
right?
done enough.
Yeah, no, I have done a lot of stuff, and like, you basically cannot top that project. Well, maybe it's possible to do other stuff, but I think for uniqueness and everything, that was just huge. That was
Mhm.
huge. That was huge, and I felt like I did everything that I had to do. Like, my contribution to gaming community, to retro community, is there, and that's it. That's my legacy. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, nope.
One of the
Yeah,
games that stuck out to me that you did, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the one that took the longest was learning the piano from the Miracle piano teaching system, I think.
yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely, that's a hard to tackle for a lot of people. That will be a hard one because I'm a musician, so I knew how to read music. I can play songs by ear and stuff like that. That definitely gives me an advantage for other people who have never learned anything about music on that particular game.
Mhm.
But still, I'm not a piano player. I'm a flutist, and learning a new instrument is a whole different thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like you're a speedrunner of, I don't know, Mario, and then, oh yeah, you should speedrun Super Metroid, right? And it's like
A little different.
a little different, right? It's still speedrunning, but it's different.
Just a little bit. Not like they're
Yeah, I
completely
mean,
different
no,
games
no,
or
no,
anything.
Mario's a really hard one, but what I'm saying, Super Metroid is a very one of the most difficult speedruns. I think
Oh yeah.
I'm not even speedrunning the game, but you don't have to speedrun the game to know that that's one of the
Oh
most
yeah.
difficult.
Oh,
Like,
I
it's
know it's
just
hard.
you just got to see people play. See, for example, I didn't like that with Super Metroid, but watching the speedrunners is insane. Like, how good they play the game. It's just like
Mhm.
A to Z is just mint. It's just insane. It's just insane. Like, how
Mhm.
how good. And the more you start learning about the game, the more impressed they leave you, man.
Mhm.
See, because many people watch and it's like, oh yeah, yeah, sure, he plays the game. But when you try to make any of the tricks they do, it's like, what? My God, man.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing their consistency, it's just insane. It just blows your mind.
Yeah, it's why I like learning about games even if I don't play or run them just to because then I could be more impressed in what they're
Yeah, yeah,
doing.
yeah, and you can know exactly how big of a deal is that player or not, or the speedrun itself.
Hmm.
Yeah, it gives you better perspective.
Hmm. But yeah, so the Miracle Piano game, I think, was the longest one it took to beat, and you like learned piano from that. Like it worked, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, as a musician, you need a lot of practice. So
Hmm.
definitely, I learn a few songs, but it's not. I mean, you learn a little bit of piano, but practice makes perfect. So
Hmm.
if you wanna be a piano player, you gotta practice on daily basis.
Yeah, I get.
And
I didn't mean professional piano, but like now you can play it. I bet.
uh, you will be surprised. Yeah, I can play a few. I can play a few songs, but you know,
Well, yeah,
I'm a musician, so playing a few songs is not exactly for me to say, "Oh, I play piano." I don't.
sure.
For some people, will be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, he plays piano." For me, it's just like I know a big difference.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on how you look at it, but I
Yeah,
mean, it's still
yeah,
it's still
exactly.
interesting that there's even a piano teaching system for that console all the way back then.
Yeah, yeah. Some people is like, "Oh, this is not a game."
Mm.
Gotta be there a lesson there, and there were a few glitch lessons that is they're impossible to beat. I tried many
Really?
things of beats. Yeah, two lessons,
Hmm.
which is not like the concert lessons, which if I will have to judge, that will be pretty much the winning condition. Beats like because they teach you lesson by lesson until you finish the song, right?
Hmm.
If you finish the song and play it, and then it takes you to the next lesson, that means like you learn everything, right, from the
Hmm.
lessons to play like the score. But a few of those lessons were glitch. Like it didn't. It no matter if even if you play everything perfectly, it didn't finish that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I really. Yeah, I don't know if everyone is gonna try to be legit in a way, and I'm curious if anyone finds a way of beating those ones that I couldn't beat. I
That's
did try
interesting.
it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to skip those ones. They're not impactful for like saying beating the game, but it's just some little curiosity about that particular game.
Hmm. It's interesting that there can be a glitch like that.
Well, it could be bad programming.
Yeah. I mean, it could be
That's
anything. It's
something.
just interesting.
The problem is that the game is changing like the papers on the scores.
Hmm.
Whenever the change of paper was happening, I think that was the point where it was just like glitching or being offbeat. But I
Mm.
even try offbeat and stuff like that. Maybe someone will have to look into the code to figure out what was wrong. I don't remember if I write the lessons that were the glitch happening, but I believe with today tools we can find what was the problem of that.
Hmm.
In fact, there are a few testers who could do that. At the time, I didn't think about it, but it's just that little thing that might drive you insane if you're very picky about that. As I say, like for purposes of beating the game, it was not impactful, but
Yeah.
just a thing that happens.
I mean, you spent the most time in that game of any other, so I mean,
I could have easily spent more time in some other games. Like that was Might and Magic. I think that one took like 86 hours,
mm,
and that was because I started at the end asking for spoilers. Um,
mm,
yeah, because I don't know. It just it was a little painful to have to search every single square of. There were like hidden passageways in a dungeon crawler that
mm,
the game was like huge. and you have to check or bump in every freaking bush just to see if it's a secret passage. I felt like, even if the game is cool, like I don't think that's a cool thing to do for any player, right?
Hmm. Yeah, does not sound fun.
Yeah, definitely it wasn't. It wasn't. The music was great in that game, but that that is just.
Yeah. Well, what were like the shortest games?
There were, I don't know, many, but it depends because, Baltos I beat it in 14 minutes, I think, maybe 20, I don't know. So that's a short game, but the shortest was Chess Master. Took me 52 seconds to beat.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep. Yeah. There were some other short games, I don't know, Taboo, and I can't remember more on
Yeah.
top of my head, but luckily we created a spreadsheet where we can just use filters and check out what were short games
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But yeah, on top
Useful,
of my head,
useful.
I can't remember. Eh?
Yeah, I was just saying that's very useful.
It is, it is, it is, and even people created a search bot. Well, not a search bot. They implemented some code for the Nightbot. So
Hmm.
just by chat we could find games like exclamation search and then the name of the game, whatever people were finding or asking. Even provided a link to the playthrough because a lot of times we're newcomers to the project. Like, oh, have you played this game? Oh, have you beaten this game? Have you played that game? That game, but so many times because
Hmm.
the more people were finding out, they were just asking for the love game. And yeah, that command was very useful for that uh, particular matter, and it will show like how many games were beaten. Yeah,
Yeah. And wow, it's funny to think that that all ended in 2017. It's been a while even since then. And you
yeah, it has been a while, yeah, for sure. Has
and
been a while, but to me, it didn't feel like that long ago.
hmm, that's how
But I
time
have done.
works.
Eh?
Yeah, just time flies. All I'm saying.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But yeah, yeah, it was a cool project. And then, uh, what happened after that? I guess back to
Yeah,
usual business.
usual business. Yeah, yeah. Someone asked me what I will do after. At the time, I didn't know because people asking me in 2014, "Oh, what are you gonna do after you finish all the games?" I'm like, "Dude, I just started this project. Like, have mercy."
Hmm.
They were asking me what I'm gonna do in 3 years. Come on, man. Just I don't even know what I'm gonna eat tomorrow, and they're asking, "Oh, what are you gonna?" Sometimes people don't get like certain points.
Hmm.
So what I did after was I said like, "Oh, I was gonna get the world record in battles when I finished Nesmania," and I did. I get world record in battles again, all the records. And yeah, and then I I did a pretty nice project, which was the 50K follower special. I beat to, top 25 SNES games.
Mm.
That's what I did, and I created like a particular layout for each one of those. It was pretty nice. It took a lot of hours for me working making the layouts, but I was very happy with the result. It just felt bad that I only used the layouts for that particular project, and it was that short because in this mania, whatever I was doing or people were doing, I could reuse it like for 200 games, and for that particular one, it just felt like each game has their own thing,
Hmm.
unique stuff.
Yeah.
And it took me a lot of time, but I really like it. But since I just finished Nesmania, I felt like not many people got to watch and enjoy how cool was that?
Hmm. Yeah, I know
So
you've
yeah,
been replaying it
eh?
in reruns for a while now.
Oh, Nesmania,
Yeah.
yes. I have been because I'm editing the playthroughs, but whenever I finish them, I put them there, and I'm actually like now messing out with streamer bot, uh, trying to put cool stuff. See, I'm putting that Nesmania runs, and it's pretty cool because I want it to be very interactive with the people that they can like move to the next game if they want via Twitch channel point rewards. They can like rewind the video, forward it,
Hmm.
whatever people want. In the future, I want to add like people can select a certain game that they want to watch. And I have been messing around with animations introducing pretty nice gifts, animated gifts, and I don't know, like I'm just messing around a lot with what I have, and also a lot of people didn't really watch Nesmania back in the day, who has come to my channel, who are always saying, "Oh man, I wish I knew about your stream sooner and stuff like that, so I could watch Nesmania." So I'm just putting there because sometimes people wanna watch, that cool thing. Even myself, many times I spend watching the reruns, and they're pretty cool because you can see all the magic happening, and the fact that there is the chat there, you can see also what people were suggesting, what people were thinking. So yeah, I'm also on putting like a playlist that shows up, and it has like the thumbnail. That a thumbnail was created by Tetomu, one viewer. He helped me create all the thumbnails for YouTube, which is insane. Plus, making a lot of covers, handling that. Yeah, a lot of people have been helping me out a lot. Uh, and yeah, I'm messing out with that stuff. Basically, I'm just giving opportunity for people to watch that while also helping out my stream, right? Because you can run ads. So during the runs, I have heavy ads.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, yeah. During the live stream, I just have normal ads, but yeah, during the runs is especially heavy, just to help me out with life expenses.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of work went into it. Might as well
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the
But I mean,
possibility of.
on the future, I would love to. It's just there's many things. You see, like one thing is constant in my stream. I have a lot of ideas, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and people has a lot of ideas too in chat. You just need to listen to them carefully. Some people try to lead you into Commodore 64, Mania, or Amiga, or TurboGrafx 16. They really try, but you know,
Hmm.
but not yet.
Not yet. There was some other kind of project. It wasn't like the Mania, but I forget exactly
Yeah,
what it was called. But I think you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, the retro game gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that that to me was introduced by the Russian community.
Mm.
One of the good friends of mine, Gitman, he rated my stream back in the day. That helped me be a partner. Basically, he was rating my stream with 200, 300 people back in the day, which that was huge, like a lot. Uh, when my channel was having like I don't know 25 viewers, something like that. So it was insane. It was insane for me. So that person, we have been friends over the course of years. Has been 10 years already, but yeah. Um, he one day, uh, when I met him, he told me, "Oh, why don't you do retro game gauntlet?" I'm like, "What is retro game gauntlet?" Well, it's like this mania. You say, then why shall I do Retro Game Countless if I already did Nesmania? Well, okay, it's like Nesmania but with money. Well, sounds cool, man. I mean, I'm happy I did Nesmania money free because out of respect of the project principles that I had, like just making for love for the NES. And I was like, well, I already done that, I proved that. Yeah, why not? Why not get some money? So he was well. I kind of tried to get the rules that they had to make them in English. And yeah, the concept was it's pretty cool actually. Instead of having one single console, you have several consoles, and games can be added via the community, via donations, and that's it. So if you beat the game, you can move to the next console. But if you don't beat the game, you have to add an extra game as a punishment.
Mm.
So, and since games can, and since people can add games via donations, so it was adding games. See, like part of the problem is I didn't know, how much people will be willing to pay to add a game or not. So I think those are pretty hard things when it comes to money, right? Because like if you put I don't know like a game for $100, people might not even want to add a game. But if you put a game for $5, you might end up having like a ton of games, which is pretty cool. The only problem is that if you don't beat a game, you have to add more games. And it's like a situation that it can be very difficult, right? Because the sweet balance is a very big problem to find, right? Uh, on top of that, some like well, you have several consoles, right? So there were some games like, well, I mean, consoles or game systems like there was MS-DOS, some MSX, and other things that I never heard in my life. That was the truth. So I mean, I decided to start that, but it was difficult to set up the games. Like that was one of my big complaints. Plus, some games was just difficult. They were just difficult, rough, very bad looking. On NES, the games were licensed by Nintendo. At least they have some sort of standard quality that they were aiming for. They were still very challenging games, but in the other consoles that I told you, they were just difficult, 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 difficult. Um, so yeah, it was a pretty interesting challenge. The community took it well, uh, and I did that season one. I don't know, I beat like 500 games, but in season two, there were more implemented stuff. We started making more rules to kind of balance out to have some getaway situations. And once again, the same way as Nesmania, it was taking shape out of suggestions from people. And the problem is that sometimes people suggest so much, and if you make so many changes, it's very difficult to keep track. And one thing I don't shine on is explaining things. For me, it's very difficult. Oh, what is this retro game outlet? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just some games, and I beat them, and that's it. Well, not exactly like that, but yeah, it's just we created documents, but people don't want to read sometimes. And honestly, it's probably better if the streamer explains it. I'm very bad explaining things. I'm good at beating games, but I'm bad at explaining things. Like, oh, where are you? I'm just like, well, I don't know. I just talked to one guy and sent me here. So I'm not a man who gives you like a whole story behind, like, oh yeah, I know, I went to the town of Alucard, and then I don't know, like I'm not that kind of guy because I don't some I could be, I just don't feel it's me. and sometimes it's difficult, right? So yeah, that has been like a little hard for me during the retro game gauntlet. On top of the games being some of them very hard, but whenever I started season two, that was a huge success. A lot of people were suggesting games. The people were very actively watching the games because every single day you tune to the stream, it was something new.
Mm-hmm.
And some people like watching new games, new old games. And the concept was again very cool that you have to beat the game. So some of games were not meant to be beaten. Sadly, on the Retro King Gauntlet, you have to beat it or add an extra game if you
Mm-hmm.
don't. And some, Commodore 64 games were really hard, like unbeatable, some of those. And it just feels very unfair to have to add an extra game because the game is kind of unbeatable. But well,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a huge success. I beat over, I don't know, I think, I don't remember, over 1,200 games.
Jeez. Add that with the NES, and you got almost 2,000.
Exactly. So it's just insane. It's insane because those are completed games. So I have not even put on YouTube like the retro game gauntlet videos.
Mm-hmm.
That's how behind I'm in the department of highlighting and keeping track of what I have done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not a person who makes a lot of highlights and stuff like that. So, for example, I have my first playthrough of I Wanna Be the Boshi.
Mm.
I did it, and it was also a huge success whenever I did it on Twitch. But I don't have a highlight of it. No recording out of that. Only a clip saved there by a jump scare from a spider, and that's all. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a huge miss. But I didn't know it was gonna be important.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
any highlight I've ever made on Twitch, I've put it unlisted on YouTube just in case, so it's somewhere else
yeah,
because I don't trust Twitch's to highlight
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it has happened to me. There are already some Nesmania videos that are not available on Twitch, and
Mm-hmm.
that I have something locally that I put on YouTube, but the YouTube might have like cut the end or started a little bit after.
Mm-hmm.
Or whenever I download it and want to edit it properly, I can only download the 480p and not the original file, which Twitch
Mm-hmm.
has. So yeah, definitely. That's why, like, finally I see that. Well, I mean, it's important since this is like the project, let's say, of my life, like Nesmania. It's very important to have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have been working recently now in that, while also trying to get world record in Cuphead. I'm currently 5 seconds away from the world record. That is about 1 hour long, so it's quite close, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least I was, if the world record hasn't changed, because the other person is active too. And one of those cases again that the other speedrunner is a beast too. Yeah, well, a lot of speedrunners in a lot of games are very, very, very hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But I think it's really hard, especially if you play many games or you do a lot of projects, right? See, because most of the time people just specialize in one game and they just are there.
Mm-hmm.
I have been specializing in several games plus all these projects and other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like I have shown already so many things that I don't feel burnt out, but just sometimes I don't have nothing to prove anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I have proven everything. So yeah, now I'm trying to enjoy a little bit more, but I end up making projects really hard. People is used to me playing hardcore. Also, A lot of people want to see me play blind games,
Hmm.
and don't, people sometimes don't realize that it's hard to play blind video games
Yeah,
because you have to put so much attention, right? And for them, it's their favorite game that they play in their childhood or later on as adults. For me, I don't know. It's just a video game and no particular love with one game that I never played. So yeah, it's
definitely very different.
sometimes yeah, definitely very different. But yeah, that retro game Gauntlet was a huge success. A lot of people have been asking me to make a third edition. Uh, I, what people don't realize it takes a lot of mental will to keep going to really bad games. So,
Hmm.
fun fact, I tend to call them myself retro garbage gauntlet because it's just so bad the games. Like it just feels like, look, if you have a system library and you randomly roll a game, there's a high percent that is or gonna be a sport game or a really bad game.
Hmm.
A high percent. Like what people remember about consoles is only the good games.
Hmm.
Well, with Retro Game Gauntlet, the cool concept is that you play randomly a game, and most of the time they're just really bad, very bad games.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. Oh, I didn't know this, but like the problem is that if the game is bad and it's hard and it was bad program and everything, I'm stuck with the game, or I drop it and have a chance to get two garbage games. Great. So you see, like it's very difficult to have to handle really hard games.
Yeah.
That happened a lot during Retro Game Gauntlet. With NES, I didn't. I didn't know there were worse games. That's the thing. With Retro Game Gauntlet, I find out that there's so much more bad games that I didn't have a clue. Little I know that, when I say, "Oh, this game is bad," man, it was not bad. I can tell you today. The games that I have played there, they have been really bad. And some of those games, I'm the only person in the world who has beaten them. Like that's how bad or hard. And for retro lovers, that project is gold because most of the times I found dumps that have crashes that they have not been officially properly tested,
Hmm.
and some people is submitting to dumpers to tell them that this game doesn't work, and it's just pretty cool. Like in terms of preserving consoles games, I think it's pretty cool what I'm doing, which is not exactly the project, but it's a side effect of the nature of the project and people watching and
Hmm.
taking care enough of preservation. Yeah,
Yeah. What I find interesting about it is like, at least personally, I know nothing about like the old computers, and
yeah, me.
that's like half of that list of consoles you have to go through. So I'm sure there's a lot of on there that just no one
Yeah, and
knows about, really.
yeah, and the other side, the other half, are N64, PlayStation, games that were very long to beat, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And once again comes the factor on like, oh, at the beginning I was like having the same price for a short NES game or a 48 hours PlayStation game. So can you imagine if someone told you, hey, can I pay you $20 to play a 48-hour game? Oh, by the way, is this your job? It's like no one in the world will take $20, sorry, for 48 hours of work.
Hmm.
No one. No one, especially in the United States. So, it's really hard. It's really hard to try to mix both, right?
Hmm.
Like to be sustainable, interesting still for people to watch while be able to do it. It's just it's really hard. It's really hard. Like and yeah, I mean, nothing is easy in life, right? Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta work hard. But yeah, it definitely. I felt like it drained a lot on me, like making me be in a bad mood, or having to be stuck with a game that you don't want to play just because if you drop it, it's gonna be worse. So that leads into something really bad. And again, people come after, oh, you should play another game to relax. Like, yeah, casually, right? When I don't like playing casually, but yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's just ah,
Yeah.
sometimes it's difficult what we do. Sometimes it's easy. So that's why whenever people suggest me to start a new one,
Yeah.
yeah, I just have second thoughts a lot, or third or fourth thoughts. It's really hard. It's really hard. So at the moment, I have other things in mind, and you know, we'll see what the future brings.
Could always
Definitely not.
change up the formula too.
I have changed it, but yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the problem with changing is that it can go both ways. It can be a huge success, or it can just lose interest from people and
Yeah.
be bad. And
Don't know until
just
you try. Which
yeah,
pros and cons to that, I guess. But I mean,
yeah, working concept. But if you have a project that, for example, this last retro game gauntlet took me like 1.5 years to finish, or almost 2 years. I don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
insane. Or almost. I don't know. It just took me a huge amount of time. There were so many games, and I was religiously playing that.
Yeah.
Like what I did not do in Nesmania, I probably spent as much time as with Nesmania with this games gauntlet
hmm
in terms of hours.
Yeah, that's definitely a big one, especially with all those PC games,
Yeah,
like I said, that just no one knows about because who cared about those?
yeah, and they were bad, some of them. And there were some people making curated lists, removing, I don't know, some sort of games like porn games and stuff like that.
mm.
That is not streamable friendly, right? That every console has had one of those, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Some people say that maybe a curated list will work better. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I tried what I could. Like people like it. It was difficult. Not gonna lie, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. What about like a, Nintendo game gauntlet where it's just only Nintendo consoles from then till now? Something like that. Maybe it'd have a better, if it's Nintendo, it'd have a better curated list. Could do it
But yeah,
in that way. It could be like a company instead of just random PC nonsense or something. I don't know.
yeah. But part of the charm of that gauntlet is that. Yeah,
I
I
get.
mean, it will be better. Not sure how interested people will be because usually it's games people know, right?
hmm Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have no idea how it'd go, but it just sounds like it'd be interesting because it'd be the same like retro game gauntlet concept, but just you know consoles people recognize.
Yeah, but for that reason, people might be less inclined to watch, or maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah, no way to know
But
unless it's put to the test, I guess.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, but
I think it'd be
uh,
cool, but who am I to say? I'm not the one doing it. So,
yeah, yeah,
but yeah,
yeah. So some things work on paper, not on practice.
yeah.
That is the truth. I don't know about that one. Maybe it works. Maybe it don't. I don't know.
Well,
So
whatever,
someone will have to try that.
whatever happens, it,
Yeah.
it'll it'll be nice. But um, yeah, I know you briefly mentioned Cuphead recently. You've been running that since it's come out, right?
Yeah. Well,
One
while
one of those
also
games that's
beating
just hard.
while also beating almost 2,000 games, sure, man. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, yeah, I mean, I have not exclusively played the game. I did play it for probably the first 4 months,
hmm
maybe six at most, and then I move on. to other
Mhm.
projects, to retro game gauntlets. And in Cuphead, I have been jumping back and forth. At the moment I'm playing it, it's a pretty cool game.
Mhm.
I really like the game, but yeah, I have just jumping around
Yeah.
on Cuphead. Yeah,
Definitely seem to see a correlation between record level speedruns and like games notoriously difficult. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just Cuphead is difficult for people, but they didn't play the NES games I grew up with, so
mhm.
I have other opinion. Cuphead is a cool game. It's challenging. Not the most difficult game for sure.
Yeah.
And even with that, only like 15% of people who play the game beat it or less.
Mm. Yeah. Notoriously difficult doesn't mean they're right, I guess, but
Yeah,
it just yeah, definitely a correlation there between at least what the internet says is difficult and that's what it's
yeah,
known for. That's its legacy. And then like, oh,
yeah,
but I have the record in it. Haha.
yeah. I definitely had records in several different categories. I even created one,
What's that?
the hater percent.
What's that entail?
Yeah, that is when I was posting the records on YouTube. Like a lot of the comments were like, "Oh, you're cheating because we were using glitches
Classic.
to skip." Yeah, exactly. But I didn't understand how difficult they were, and today to them it looked like I was cheating, right? Like I didn't have game skills or anything. And normally it's just normal stuff that people get in comments on YouTube, but there were so many of those comments. So I was like, do really people think I'm cheating or something? What the hell is wrong? Like I have done stuff to keep my name clean. Like always play legit for years. They can watch other games that I have beaten. Like really, they think I'm cheating. So instead of replying to every single person, oh, it's because this is that. No, because of this is that. I didn't want it to do that. Was like, all right, I'm just gonna try to beat the game in the most difficult way so I can link them to a video. So I was like, all right, well, what that will be like? And I was like, yeah, getting the highest grade, um, not being able to take damage on the bosses. What else? Not buying anything, just going with the base gun, playing the hardest difficulty too. And that's how like the set of rules came to life, and I call it hater percent because it was dedicated to all those people who who thought that I don't have game skill. And it was a one-time thing, so I wanted to have a video to redirect them, but uh, I give a really nice name, and then other speedrunners try, the rules or beat the game with the rules I did, and they enjoy it a lot because they make sense. I'm a speedrunner not of modern games, but just from retro games. So I have some knowledge, and I have created some categories that make sense, like low percent. For example, Darwin Duck didn't have low percent. I created that category in Adventure Island. I created like a war plus and 100%. That the game behaves in a very particular way, but I wanted just to put out there like different ways of playing the game. Same as we were talking about, what speedruns bring, but that's one category, right? Like you can have very different ways with set rules and enjoy the game a lot. As long as they make sense, they could be fun to play. So that's what I wanted to do, like for also other games that I speedrun, and I think that it shows off. And when I create that hater percent, I also keep in mind everything that I have learned from other speedruns that I have played or seen or created back in the past. So I that's what I did. I call it hater percent, just dedicated to all of those hate comments on YouTube. And And yeah, before I knew it, like they added that to the what was to the speedruns categories on speedrun.com and the category extensions of Cuphead. So it was pretty cool, and I felt you know good about it.
Mhm. Did it shut them
And
up?
yeah, it did.
Oh, well,
It did.
win-win then. Fun
Yeah,
category,
yeah,
and it shuts up the losers.
yeah, yeah. It did. I mean, we had nothing to say about you know no, they have always something, but at least like, oh, you cheated. Oh no, you have game skill. I didn't know that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it did change. It did change. So the purpose was there, and it worked.
Yeah, the category's name's Hater%.
Yeah, it's hater% on speedrun.com.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's all I was thinking about. Just hate comments. So how to name this challenge or hater%? That was it. Easy, easy, and people like it.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just as I told you, I'm a creative person, so you know, I just do whatever I feel like, and whenever I put my mind into something, I try to do it, and that's it.
Hmm. So,
Calling speedrunning, calling beating all the NES games, calling beating random games, calling I don't know, whatever comes to, that's it.
and there'll always be something to do, right?
There's always something. The sky is the limit. Like your imagination is what stops you. Uh, Yeah, I mean, not every day like you're full of energy to do something. Some days, especially if live streaming is your job, it might be different, right?
Hmm.
If you just do it as a hobby, you're relaxed. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want in any way you want. But yeah, if you think this as your job, it has to be. You have to always keep that in mind, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't let you be as free as you could be, you would like to be sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, yeah. I mean, something will come up. I'm a guy who I always have the ideas, and if I don't have, I can always ask people, but sometimes they don't work. Worst case scenario, you can always copy what someone is doing, but I don't like doing that myself.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, you can take ideas from others and just try to apport something, right?
Hmm.
Make something better, but
People do
we
that all
just
the time, yeah.
start copying someone. Even speedrunning, I don't like just copying strats from people. Yeah, I just don't like. I like playing the game. Many times come up with my own strats, right? Later on, when I feel like I reached that point that I have not no other strat to apport or to come up with, then I might just start looking at what other people is doing. But only until that point that I run out of ideas.
Hmm.
And there's different approach. There's some people who just like straight away taking strats from others, executing them really good, and getting world records with that.
Hmm.
Just feel like they didn't apport that much other than a very great speedrun, but they didn't leave like a staple of them, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, of course, the staple could be like their speedrun, right? See,
Yeah.
even in Super Mario Bros. 3, I really hate why speedrunners never went for like a one-up that is just swag in one of the warships. Well, yeah, in the Dark World, there were only a very few speedrunners. Like what was Frizzy Man? He was going for that one-up that you can take. Yeah, sometimes I don't know, don't know the reasons, but if you have time and you can swag in the game, why not? But I guess everyone is different.
Yeah, swag is always more important than speed. Although I think in this case it doesn't affect speed, but hey.
Yeah.
uh, But yeah, so you're working on Cuphead right now. Just 80%? Like,
No, no, no. It's actually on 80%. I'm
oh,
trying
okay.
to.
Ver-
I'm trying to get the world record back.
the more
I,
important
I
category, hater percent, of course.
well, I mean, it's just not the more important. To me, it's meaningful because I created the category, but I also like the category somehow
No, it sounds like a
because
good challenge, so it works.
it's difficult and a speedrun is really hard.
Hmm. But yeah, do you have any idea of things you plan to do in the future, speedrunning, streaming related, anything like that?
I mean, there's always stuff that people want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like Mario 64. I would love to get
Mm.
some 2 hours, but I heard
120?
it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, 120 stars. Yeah, because for example, after the NES Mania, I also played Mario 64, and wanted to get to 1 hour 70 stars. I did
Mm.
that quite fast actually. But yeah, but I'm not expert at Mario 64. Just I learned very fast. But I wanted to, yeah, I wanted to try maybe that 120 on sub 2 hours. But I think it's quite difficult. But I don't know. That it's not a project I have. Maybe Super Mario Hour. Well,
Mm.
Mario Hour. I think the one that Darmian
Yeah,
came up with.
that's a fun one.
Yeah, because you see, like that's like the importance of just being creative, right? Like you created something cool, nice,
Hmm.
fun, and challenging. And same was complicated percent, many other things. Like you can do a lot of stuff, just matters the creativity. So I mean, at the moment, I don't know what I will do, but something will come up
Yeah.
that can be pretty cool and can be not as cool, but still interesting. But one thing is for certain, whatever I do, you can make sure is actually it's good.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm out of questions. So if there's anything throughout your history that we didn't talk about that you feel is important, you can let me know.
Well, um, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Just wanna thank probably all the people who has supported me over the years. It has been more than 10 years streaming, and yeah, thanks to all the people who have always supported me. And that's why I'm still able to keep on doing this, playing video games, live streams, bring the best or the worst of me for people to watch. And well, I'm grateful about that, and that it lets me have a different life than other people, right? Like sometimes people with normal jobs, it's very hard for them to find time to get holidays or something like that. um, and you know for me it it helps me, at least now that finally I have a girlfriend. Like I'm able to travel with her whenever she can, of course. So it's pretty nice, and I'm very grateful of that and all the people who have supported me over the course of the years in the good way.
Hmm. Well, want to thank you for being on the show today. It was a good conversation. If there's any questions in chat, feel free to ask. But while we wait for those potential questions, you can feel free to self promote however you'd like.
No, no
Yep.
promotion, man. No promotion.
Well,
It's
I'll
fine.
promote you then. How about
Okay,
that?
that's cool, man.
Well, I mean, all the links are on stream and will be in the YouTube description anyway, as always. But yeah,
Yeah,
so check out all those. There you go.
yeah. all the social media writer, the Mexican runner, TMR.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. Yeah, I mean, it just I feel I always trust people, right? Like if they want to watch, they will find you, man. Like, of course, sometimes they need a little reminder, but I hate to remind sometimes, especially when I'm not feeling like, and I guess I don't know why I'm not feeling like right now. But yeah, I mean, just if they want to find me, they will find me. They know where I am, right?
Yep. We're just gonna make it easy to find.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
You know, sometimes people need to work hard for something they want.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not these days, right? This day is just the easy way.
Sometimes.
On, yeah. Well, anyway, thanks a lot for the invitation. I wish you well. Good luck with the speed runs and all future endeavors that you have, all the goals for this new year.
Yep.
I hope that they come good.
Yep.
Or
You
at
as
least you
well.
try them.
Yeah.
Thanks, thanks,
Trying.
man.
Trying. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. If you can follow stuff. Yeah, I'm not good at self promotion either, so uh but yeah, I guess that's just it. So I can call it a day here. Thanks again and see you in the next episode, everyone. Have a good one.